for teams to consider. Certainly, there's some strategy to be had there.
There's a lot of strategy to be had with the hero bans in this tournament. We've seen teams try to ban like the enemy main DPS on their role, like banning an Echo on a really good Echo player, for example. And I think some of the interesting ones is I think I mentioned it in the previous stream, but one of the more interesting bans I've seen is trying to ban Kiriko against a Junker Queen comp. And then having the Junker Queen comp just run out on Ana, and then you have like Ana nades and the Junker Queen to deal with, and then you don't have a Kiriko of your own. So there is a lot of strategy, but you kind of need to think about it twice to make sure that it doesn't come back to bite you.
I would not be surprised at all tonight if we do see Hazard banned at least once by both teams. Hazard has very much been dominating the meta at the moment. The most recent patch notes have only really given Hazard pretty much a slap on the wrist, and that hasn't really changed how dominant Hazard is in the current meta. And what I've been finding from myself scrimming is that it's literally Hazard every single map, and it's Hazard over and over again. And I think some people are starting to find that a bit monotonous.
Absolutely, and to be honest, with the patch notes, like they nerf Hazard slightly, but then they also nerf Ana, which is a good counter to Hazard. So in theory, they made Hazard stronger. We did see some buffs to Monkey though, which is going to be interesting because I think Monkey can work really well in most of the compositions where Hazard is played. So if Hazard is banned on 1 or 2 maps, which could be the case with the ban rules, yeah, I don't think the patch notes are going to change, or the recent patches are going to change much with the meta right now. Maybe we'll see a bit less Ana, but then teams just have to adapt for that, probably with the Kiriko.
Of course, looking at the structure of the actual match tonight, it is best of 7, first to 4. So we will see at least 4 maps played tonight. The order that the maps will be played will be Control, Hybrid, Flashpoint, Escort, Push, Control, and then Escort if we need the tiebreakers. The map pool tonight is rather diverse. I see a lot of options here. Potentially some old favorites coming in here with Lijiang Tower available for Control for the first round. I don't see King's Row here on the hybrid. Oh, King's Row's first. We do have King's Row as well. So there is a lot of room here for a lot of team favorites to be played.
Absolutely. But looking at both the teams and the information that they sent us beforehand, because throughout the tournaments, I think every match that have been streamed, the first map has been Lijiang. None of these teams have Lijiang listed as their favorite map. With NA team having Busan as their favorite control map, and bad Kitlients have Ilios as their favorite one. It's going to be interesting if we're going to see a bit of a shakeup in the first map meta that has been throughout the tournament.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised that some tournaments don't actually state that the first map should always be Lijiang Tower. It's almost like an unspoken rule.
Yeah, it's kind of like how King's Row used to be like the one hybrid map that every team picked. But there's been a bit of changes through to the game, and I think a lot of teams are favoring other maps than King's Row these days. So maybe the same thing is happening with Lijiang. Maybe it's like fatigue.
And we're just going to take a little look at the bracket here. We do have And NA team are banning Kiriko, which, as you were saying, is going to be a very popular one to ban there, I would feel.
Absolutely. Trying to look a bit at the favorite heroes to play on each team. NA team seems to be favoring a bit of dive, so banning the Kiriko.
It will actually be interesting to see if they do play any Hazard tonight, because while Hazard is very much a hybrid in terms of how he plays, he's both dive and brawl. Some very, very hard dive maps like Gibraltar still favor the more classic dive compositions.
Absolutely, and I think on Ilios as well, the lighthouse part of the map, for example, usually very dive heavy. We tend to see a bit of it on ruins as well. But that map may be a bit more suited for the hazard style because you, as you said, you can both do a bit of brawling and a bit of diving. So yeah, I think this map pick isn't really favoring one of the teams over the other.
That's a common theme that we see in most control maps, though, that each map favors a different style of play and a different composition. And it's really good to start with control maps because it is almost like a showcase for the teams to demonstrate the different compositions they play, how they play them. So in some ways, that makes it quite interesting.
Absolutely. It is a bit of a showcaser, and it's also a very good way of warming up for the teams, getting to kind of feel each other out, because so many times on control maps, you see one team winning the first stage very one-sided, but then the other team adapts, and then they win the next two. That happens all the time. We've seen that in OWCS and the OVC back in the day as well. So I think it's just a really good way for the teams to show off, to get a bit of a feel for each other, and to properly warm up.
We're just looking here at scores so far with bad Kitlients. 4-0 so far in a tournament is a very strong showing. Certainly, any team will want to be careful how they approach this, but any team themselves also 4-0. These are really strong showings so far. I think both teams will be quite cautious in feeling out the other team just to assess them first and see how they play before making too many commitments.
Absolutely, as we mentioned in the beginning, like both teams have had similar routes throughout the group stages, only losing one map throughout the entire stage, not losing a single match, and just breezing through the semifinals as well. So I think feeling each other out. I don't know if the teams know each other from before. They might have scrimmed in the past, but yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how they learn how each other play, and how they can adapt to each other here.
As far as I'm aware, for tonight, neither team will be running ringers tonight. Certainly, in terms of a final, ringers, it's not something you want. It's not a situation you want to find yourselves in if you can absolutely avoid it. Because what it comes down to at the end of the day is synergy. We've touched on this before, that the biggest deciding factor in most tournaments is just purely down to synergy and experience and how people know they will play, and what they can expect from their teammates.
Absolutely, synergy, the level of communication that they have, is just like, yeah, it is very important with team play in a game like Overwatch. Like, it is a team based shooter. Like, you need to depend on your team to do their job so that you can do yours, right? The tank needs to take space. The DPS need to be consistent. The supports need to stay alive and keep people alive. Like, and all that needs to then happen with communication, with the synergy, knowing each other's play styles. Yeah.
We're just about ready to go straight in now with the first map. Both teams are ready. So we'll get that underway for you, and good luck to both of them.
Absolutely. And as we said, the first map is Ilios. And I think the first stage is Well.
Well can definitely be an interesting map for teams to play on, both in tournaments and scrims. I often see the team compositions that people use on this particular map to be quite wild and wacky, and in some teams looking for the boot potential.
Absolutely. You have the boot potential with the Lucio speed play. You also have what some people call fishing, where you have a hog just playing static on point, looking for those hooks, pulling people into the well. There's a lot of potential there, especially Pharah played a lot on this map with the boot potential as well. I think Venture also has some possibility to do a bit of boopage. So it's going to be interesting to see what the teams pick here.
Spawn doors are now open for both teams. Bad Kitlients are playing Hazard. Of course, this is a very popular comp at the moment. NA team are playing a more sort of classic dive here, but they are playing the Venture, which is definitely an interesting choice. Both teams have now engaged, looking to control inside of the room there where the Mega is. Very important. Both teams at the moment just playing kind of slow, just waiting to feel. And we almost have a Tracer going down the well. That would have been very amusing. We do see Bubble committed, but Hazard finding a pick there. Brig goes down, and then Winston goes down to a rail. That was a very, very clean engagement, I would say, by Bad Kitlients. They were very, very controlled there.
Absolutely, and we can see they're going more into the meta pick with Hazard. You have the Sojourn pick, like following up on Hazard going in, doing damage, and then just staying alive with his block. And then, of course, having Tracer being able to come in and finish up anyone that needs finishing up. But NA team going with a more traditional dive here.
And we see another pick there for Bad Kitlients. Hazard getting huge value here. NA team are trying to take control of the high ground there, just to establish a bit of map control and just stabilize a bit. But at the moment, Bad Kitlients are they're holding very, very well. We do see the Nano come out, and the Venture is Nano. No picks found on that, and we do see Tracer here, and that's a massive, massive boop as well. So far, Bad Kitlients are looking very, very much a strong team, but it's exceptionally early days to say, as both teams still haven't effectively warmed up yet.
Absolutely, a bit of a panic Nano on the Venture there, then getting booped off. Just stuff that happens. Ult economy now is just looking super strong for Bad Kitlients. I don't think NA team has a big chance of making it on this map, even though the dive should work, but they need to coordinate a bit more. They need to set up properly, but I think just the backline of Bad Kitlients is just too mobile for NA team to do stuff here.
Everything was resting on that pulse there for NA team. Unfortunately, it is missed, but we do see some picks coming through on both sides, but it's not enough, and NA team are currently looking like they're not going to be able to succeed in this fight. We do see Primal Rage pop in a desperate attempt to try and maintain point presence, but this is last fight territory, and The Winston is just burned down, and Bad Kitlients will very convincingly take Ilios well.
Initiation!
Yeah, Seals with a really good showing of Hazard there, just goes in super quickly, just throwing NA team off their balance, off their pacing, and just getting picks right and left. It's just really well played by Bad Kitlients there, and I think NA team either has to adapt, which it kind of looks like they're trying to do, or they have to figure out how to get to Bad Kitlients' backline. But as I mentioned, like the difference in backline was so big because Bad Kitlients had Juno, Lucio, which can just speed out of there when NA team dives in, while the Ana Brig on the other side are kind of stuck there, especially if your Hazard puts up a wall behind them. You have Tracer coming in, and then the follow-up shots from Sojourn. It's just really hard to play what NA team was playing.
We do see NA team playing the Widow here, which is a very strong pick on this particular map. The Venture finds an opening pick there, so that's going to be kind of difficult for Bad Kitlients to answer with no ultimates on the board this early. So NA team will almost certainly take that team fight, and it's pretty much clean up now. NA team do take that team fight with a huge opening pick from the Venture, which just opened it up for the rest of them.
Yeah, I think this is a really good adaptation from NA team going more into the poke style, because Hazard doesn't have that long range dive that Monkey does. So just denying the range is something that works pretty well. But now again, good adaptation from Bad Kitlients, just swapping over to ball, getting that kind of range issue fixed, and now hopefully being able to reach the backline at some point.
We do see Bad Kitlients Tracer go down to the Tracer there, and also the Venture for NA team goes down. At the moment, Bad Kitlients have taken point control back. The ball pick does seem to be working wonders for them. Very nice indeed. Very fast adaptation there, as you were saying. Bad Kitlients currently maintaining point control. The Widow here is getting hard focused and struggling to stay alive. Surprised Widow doesn't go down and dies there just as I say that. We do see the Juno finishing the Widow off. I think NA team now really have to adapt themselves, and they might want to look at switching the Widow.
Yeah, I think switching the Widow is a good idea. They're also going to struggle a lot when it comes to sustain, because they only have Briggs Zen, which means their Sigma has to play very carefully. Oh my god, that's a huge engage by Bad Kitlients there.
Yeah, we do see that Bad Kitlients now have mines. NA team have the Venture ult, which of course is extremely powerful in its own right. But that early pick on the Sig by Bad Kitlients is going to make it very, very difficult without a regroup, and time is just ticking away. So NA team need to be very careful here and no one die early, because they may spoil their chance of a last fight.
Yeah. As I was alluding to, like the adaptations from Bad Kitlients here are really good, and they're just really playing into the fact that an A team has no sustain. Like as soon as the fight starts, if they don't get picks like they did just now, they cannot survive throughout the fight.
We see a huge Venture ult come out there, find at least 2 picks, and that will of course lead to point control flipping to NA team. I'm surprised they still have the Widow, I will be honest with you, having the ball. That's going to be very, very difficult to find the value on Widow while Bad Kitlients are playing the ball. We do see Widow getting value though, and that's a fantastic early pick, finding the Lucio, but with the time at the moment, Bad Kitlients can just take this at their own pace. They have no need to rush this.
They absolutely don't have any reason to rush this, but these are some really good shots by the NA team Widow here. Just like shooting a Lucio out of the sky like that, that's really, really good play. And also the Venture following up, denying the Tracer, getting close to their backline. And it's kind of one of those, like, if they can keep that up, they might have a chance here, but as soon as Bad Kitlients get in and engage in like brawl range, they're gonna struggle.
I would like to see the ball on Bad Kitlient's side going on the Widow a little more. I feel that's a lost opportunity. Bad Kitlients do find an early pick, though. Raleigh does come out to try and give them some sustain there. We see picks coming out on both sides. Tracer finding a pulse on the Venture. Venture will go down, which is NA team's biggest source of damage. That's really going to hurt them. Widow is still up, however, taking a lot of spam damage from Sojourn there. This is coming down to the wire here. We are into last fight territory, and the picks are now coming in on side of NA team, which is not how Bad Kitlients will want this to go. I think Bad Kitlients have missed an opportunity here, and we do see mines coming out. That's a massive mines on the point, but it doesn't really find anything in the way of picks, and the ball does almost go down. And that will now be secured by any team. That was an interesting turn of events.
Yeah, I think it was a good adaptation from them, both composition-wise, and also after Bad Kitlian swapped into the ball, they started playing a bit differently. Playing the backline a bit safer, having the Venture look for the Tracer so that ball doesn't have any follow-up after going in. I think that was really good, and then just the Widow hitting shots. Those were some really good shots there.
It looks like NA team are now going to a more classic dive composition with the Winston, which is very, very strong on this map. Bad Kitlients looks like they are also going to go with the more traditional Winston dive. This is certainly the best map of the three to be playing this. What we will see here is most likely Brig and a backlines. Both teams are now out of spawn doors, just looking to control the high ground there. We see a very, very deep dive there by NA team, and that's possibly very aggressive, but it does find value there with Brig going down, which is massive for NA team. Now finding two picks. That's both supports on the side of Bad Kitlients now down, so NA team will now gain point control. That was extremely well paced by NA team.
Yeah, that was really good dive aggression. Just following up with the Onane coming in, Monkey following up, getting both supports there is really impressive. Like the Ash shotgun or the Brig whip shot should be able to deny Monkey there. But now they just need to retake this position, stature up, and make sure that they can do a similar dive the other way. But they are actually contesting point though.
We do see Bad Kitlient's tank go down to the Ash there. That's going to mean that they're going to have to wait for another team fight before they can engage. So far, NA team look like they've come alive. They look like they've warmed up somewhat.
Yeah, they warmed up a little bit, but the Tracer going straight to point, capturing point, kind of didn't work out the way they were hoping to. They got 7% off of that, but NA team just swapped it back and are now in control of the fight again.
We do see Tracer go down for NA team, but the tank does respond with a Primal Rage, finding the Ash, which is going to equalize things and help NA team maintain point control there. We see Hazard jump off the map for a reset. I think Bad Kitlients need to reassess how they approach this. They seem to be playing a bit slow.
They are playing a bit slow, a bit unsecure maybe. Swapping from Instant over to the Hazard also shows that they were feeling like they were losing the mirror. But now they then need to make sure that... Oh, that's a huge
that's
stick.
A massive stick. Finding the Ash straight down. That's absolutely massive for NA team. They will find it very difficult now to take the team fight. Yeah, very, very, very much that NA team has woken up and they are firing on all cylinders now.
Absolutely. You can pretty much see that their dive is way more aggressive. They're really well synergized when they go in, especially between the Ana and the Monkey, just setting up those nades and the Ash with the follow-up damage and the dynamites as well. Bad Kitlients are trying to contest point as much as they can, but by doing that, they're denying, but they're kind of not focusing on the high ground control that NA team has, and I think that's what's coming back to bite them now.
Yeah, we are down to last fight for Bad Kitlients to make an attack. If they don't succeed here, they of course will lose. We see picks coming in on the side of any team, which is not what Bad Kitlients want, and they very, very, very much convincingly win that fight.
Absolutely. And it kind of came back to what I was saying initially, that you very often see one team win the first stage kind of convincingly, and then you go into the second one as a bit more scruffy, and on the third one, the other team just wins. This happens a lot on control maps, and I think it's just the ability to adapt and the ability to understand how you're gonna play against the enemy team is yeah, it's just showing a bit of a team difference here. Not necessarily on the individual level, but as a team, being able to adapt, being able to change how you play and to play the plan together is sometimes more important than, or very often more important than, individual skill.
Both teams so far have certainly appeared very quick to adapt, which is something I really like to see. But in terms of synergy, I would say that NA team definitely coming stronger there.
Absolutely, and I think Bad Kitlients might be a bit too locked in on the meta and not playing the other team. Because I think NA team is just adapting better, and they're playing their game. They're setting the pace no matter what they're playing, and they're forcing Bad Kitlients to do stuff they probably don't want to, but it's probably what they've been practicing. And that's kind of the downside of only practicing the meta in scrims, is that if you meet something that isn't the meta, you get surprised, you panic, and then you adapt in ways that aren't optimal.
Certainly the aggression, as you touched on before, by NA team was extremely impressive. The pacing was right on that edge between actually going in and dying and going in and getting a pick. And that's something I really like to see. It takes a lot of practice to be able to play with that level of aggression. And it's something they really, really want to focus on, I feel, because if they can control the pace in that manner, then Bad Kitlients don't even have a chance to respond.
That is very true. And I think Balthazar on that monkey with just that positioning, aggressive positioning, playing the corners, cleaving when Bad Kitlients are trying to rotate out of spawn doors or out of doors and chokes. It's just like, it just shows really good team play from an A team.
How do you feel Bad Kitlients can adapt and improve their gameplay? What do you feel they need to do?
I think maybe not trying the same thing over and over, because that seems to be what they were doing. Like they were running, like they rushed someone to point a contest to try and open up the choke so that their supports can get through, right? They were kind of trying to do a bit of like a diversion thing. But NA team was just like, oh, you're trying to capture point? We have 30% more than you. We don't care. We're going to win this fight, then focus point. And that seems like what they were doing. Like, Bad Kitlients tried it like 4 times. They swapped the point twice, and then they didn't even manage to do that the 2 other times. So it seems like just trying something once or twice is good, and then swapping your approach is probably the best thing to do. Like, instead of forcing your tracer onto point, have your tracer rotate around towards the back of the high ground. Like I think NA team did once with the pulse bomb stick on the Ash. And then time when you go up with the hazard jumping in from the cages room, for example. And then follow that up with an on and aid. Like, try different stuff and not just repeat the same thing because that's what you practice in scrims. Like, you have to use the experience you gain from scrims to unlock like brain pathways and then adapt. Like, you have to use your brain. If you just do what you practiced, like, it's not gonna work.
We're just getting information now on the next map picks and hero bans. The next map will be King's Row. This is a map I'm looking forward to. It's definitely one of my favorites. And the hero bans that have come in, Bad Kitlients are banning Brig, and NA team are banning Sojourn. Now, the Sojourn I understand because Chroma was doing serious work there for
Yeah,
Bad Kitlients. So I understand that. The Brig, I don't understand quite as much.
me neither. Maybe they saw the Brig as a bigger issue on the like second and third stage of Ilios, because on the first stage, like the having the Brig kind of didn't work. But maybe they saw something that we didn't. Maybe the Brig just denied the tank dives too much, and yeah, they became scared of it, I guess. Banning Brig on King's Row is weird though.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because it does force the hand a little bit on the team comps that are available, but on a brawl heavy map, it doesn't really restrict particularly hard.
No, but I think King's Row has been changing a lot in how it's played lately, with going from, as you said, a brawl heavy map to more of a dive map. There's very often that you see, like, especially in pro play and high level play, you see like monkey comps, dive comps, and of course, like these days, hazard on every map always. So I think, like, unless Bad Kitlients really want to try and force a dive and just see if they can throw NA team off a little bit by doing that, I'm not quite sure if the map alone is going to do something here.
I suppose the banning of the Brig does mean they won't be able to play Anna Brig for the backline, but there are other options, especially on the attack phase, because the Brig isn't so much needed when you're pushing aggressively forward.
Absolutely. If they just adapt the same kind of aggressive play style as they did on the first map, just go like Lucio Kiriko, play super aggressive, play flanking. You don't need a Brig because you're not defending anyone. You're just going in for kills.
One alternative I do sometimes see in scrims is playing the Zen and a backline. It requires a greater pace and more aggression, but it is something that can work. So that is something they can explore should they wish to go for dive on the attack phase.
Absolutely. Zen is very, like, he is a very good like damage dealer overall. And like the Discord is really good, but then again, having an Ana to protect the Zen is very difficult if you're not playing a poke style composition. But then again, like, why would you play Ana with it in poke, right? Just go Baptiste and then have a Zen and then play a Sigma. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how the teams play this with no Brig.
If NA team can maintain the aggression that they have been playing with so far, I really feel they will be able to find alternatives around playing dive with Anna with no Brig. I think what they need to do in that case is just keep the pressure on, and then the Anna isn't really vulnerable if that's the case.
Yeah, if you force an Ana without the Brig, you can play, like, I've seen a couple of metas where you have like a Lucio Ana, where instead of like force protecting your Ana, you're basically using the speed boost to kite the Ana away, just creating more of a peel situation and more of a like the enemy goes in, they're chasing the Ana, they can't kill the Ana stays alive. But now your tank and your DPS are out of position, and then the enemy team goes in on their backline. So there are like ways of doing it if you still want to play the Ana, but I still think the best scenario would probably be to go Kiri Lucio.
Well, it looks like we're just about ready to go here now on map 2, which is King's Row. We will see how NA team and Bad Kitlients cope with the hero bans and how it changes their playstyles. Both teams just assembling their heroes right now, and fantastic map. This is it's so well designed. I feel you have corners, you have high ground. It's a map that has everything.
It absolutely has everything, especially throughout the map as well. The second point I feel like sometimes can be a bit boring, but the first part of the map is really well balanced. especially if you compare it to like the old 2CP maps. Like the choke isn't that what's the word for it? Like it's not that extreme like it was on like Hanamura or something. But yeah, it's a great map, and we do see a Ryan coming out here from NA team, it seems like.
Well, while I love to see Orion, especially on King's Row, I'm not sure it's necessarily the best pick, so we will have to watch that situation, see how it plays out. Bad Kitlients also opting for a brawl-heavy comp with a degree of hope as well. We have a Mercy and a Widow, which is an interesting choice, but they are playing the Hazard in this situation, which is slightly more predictable. At the moment, they just feeling each other out, and there's a nice rotation there that the Hazard and the Reaper takes to the high ground, looking to come around, while the rest of the team, that's a really, really good call by any team to just push the rest of the team away so they can't regroup with the tank and with the Reaper on the high ground, and basically the Hazard and the Reaper are pretty much forced to disengage there.
Yeah, I do question the choice of Juno instead of Lucio, because you're kind of limiting when you can speed in. But yeah, it looks like Bad Kitlients are getting the upper hand there, though, controlling high ground and just denying whatever NA team wants to do.
NA team lose the BAP, which is unfortunately massively bad news for them because they no longer have a main source of heal. Bad Kitlients, though, they're still playing this relatively slow despite having the advantage. The Rhine does go down. It's going to be very, very difficult for NA team to do anything with this. This will be a cap for Bad Kitlients. I think the rotation that Bad Kitlients took there around the top was very well executed, and NA team, once they'd lost one and then their BAP as the second, there wasn't anything they could do.
Yeah, really unlucky play there, I think. Also, like, Ryan pitting in throughout that, trying to take a bit of space and go towards the high ground. Sorry, some weird things in production there. Yeah, the NA team kind of got split
onto the Genji by Bad Kitlients, which is an interesting choice. It's definitely something that enables a more speedy diving composition. Do find again goes down to the Raven. So far though, Bad Kitlients are getting the upper hand, however. We are seeing at the moment picks coming in on both sides. We do see picks coming in for NA team, but it's going to be very, very difficult for them to take control of this again. But they are holding in there. They are definitely trying. The cast goes down for NA team, and that's unfortunate for NA team. They're not really able to find the aggression I think they need when they play in the Rhine.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to having a Juno instead of the Lucio. Like, you do have the speed ring, which is very good, and you do have more sustain. But it's just so predictable when you go in, when you use the speed ring, which means Bad Kitlients can just avoid them.
We do see Beat and Blade come out for Bad Kitlients as they maintain the momentum and keep the pressure on NA team. And NA team are just falling apart at this point.
Yeah, they're absolutely falling apart. Like, the dives from Bad Kitlients, just the Genji being able to take high grounds and poke a bit, and then follow up with a Blade or dashing out. You have the Reaper for the up close because NA team wants to play up close. They have Ryan. It's just a really good hybrid brawl dive composition that Bad Kitlients are playing right now, and NA team is struggling with the pace there. I think they could have a bigger chance if they swap to a Lucio.
Bad Kitlients only really have Death Blossom here on the board. NA team have Window, and they also have nothing else, but they will be coming up on a high noon before too much longer. So both teams may want to take this fight dry. We do see May finding a pick on Bad Kitlients' Reaper there, but Bad Kitlients are replying with the picks of their own. But NA team now get the upper hand. Window is popped, which will make it very difficult for Bad Kitlients to push any further. That's an interesting choice for a Window there. I'm not sure I see that very often, but Bad Kitlients are forced back, and they're going to have to reset. But we do see Hazard coming in there, trying to make a play and make some space, but is forced to disengage again there almost immediately.
Yep, I do kind of like that window because it's one of those like windows that's sustained to keep your Rhino level. Oh my god.
Oh dear. Again, Bad Kitlients getting the upper hand really quickly. A massive Hazardo coming out there, finding more space, more aggression, and Bad Kitlients are just able to push. And once again, NA team are just they're looking a bit lost here.
They're absolutely looking lost, and it's going to be really hard for them to touch because now the Kitsune comes out. They have a basically a Beyblade setup. If they try to touch point here, the Reaper clicks Q and everyone dies.
We see another blade come out there, Bad Kitlients. Also another beat as well, which was built in extremely quick time. And the beat and the blade closes out the point, and Bad Kitlients get to third point with lots of time left on the bank. Over 3 minutes. That was really solid by Bad Kitlients. That was really well played.
Yeah, that was really, really good played. I think NA team is a bit locked in like the good old days with picking the Rhine. Also trying to mix it up with putting the Juno in there. I think the Cass is pretty good against like the Genji Reaper composition, but having that Juno instead of having a Lucio, like having a speed that you can put on at any time and then amp to engage, but then you can still speed to disengage if you don't have amp, I think is really good. Also, I think the beat in this scenario is way better than the orbital ray. I think NA team, if they had a Lucio there, this would have been way easier for them.
One thing I noticed Bad Kitlients were doing, they were comboing Blade and Beat, which I can actually see the logic in that. That was an interesting choice. We do see NA team look like they're going to roll out on a more classic dive comp with the Winston, which I feel they definitely need a change of pace. So this is something I think they definitely need to do. The Rhine just isn't going to cut it against the Hazard.
Yeah, and I think their Widow or their Winston is really good, and I think the pacing they get from playing that composition is really good. Yeah, also like I would like to see more of that Beat Blade kind of composition, because that's a throwback to like season 2 of Overwatch 1 kind of meta. Just like, yeah, before Ana got introduced, Beat Blade was like the thing.
NA team making the engage here. Unfortunately, they're making the engage while Tracer is somewhat low, so that's going to stop them from being able to capitalize on that. We do see Winston go down immediately to the Hazard, though. That's really unfortunate. That was a little bit of a sloppy first engage.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy. Tracer taking a bit too much damage on rotation there, and that's basically all you need sometimes. And I also think maybe Monkey jumped in a bit too early there.
We do see Lucio go down though to Winston for NA team. That's going to mean that they are able to push this a little bit harder. NA team just regrouping there at the choke. We do see the Winston going quite deep there, making space, pushing their way in. Bad Kitlients look like they're dropping back a little bit just to stabilize. We see Hazard though is quite isolated there on the high ground, a little bit caught out. NA team will want to capitalize on that and punish the Hazard, stop him from disengaging, and we see exactly that. We see NA team get the picks, and now that's going to be very difficult for Bad Kitlients to do anything about. We do see an interesting switch though. We see the Echo on the side of NA team. I think that's a very, very, very solid pick into the Hazard. Echo can burn Hazard down extremely quickly, especially with the recent buff to Focusing Beam.
Absolutely. I think the way NA team played that was really good. They managed to split off the Hazard, just chasing the supports away, and then the Hazard's just in deep, can't do anything. He tries, like he jumps out, uses a block, but it's just not enough. And I think also the fact that they did so much damage to Reaper in the beginning of that fight just forced them out, and made them able to play the way they wanted to.
We do see that Pulse is currently available. Oh, my bad, it was just used. And we see the Echo copy committed. Echo does try to copy the Hazard, but that doesn't really work out and is burned almost immediately. Picks coming in on both sides, but it is looking like NA team will get the upper hand for that fight. They do have the primal range for sustain here if they do need it, but that's a massive pulse for Bad Kitlients, taking out the Winston, which is going to mean they don't have the primal rage and they don't have that sustain anymore.
No, but really good advantageous fight for NA team there. Like in that position, if the team fight becomes equal, that's a good thing for NA team. They can just kite back. They have respawn advantage. They can re-engage. They can win the fight before the entirety of bad Kitlients are back. And if that were to happen, you can just stagger the enemy team throughout the second stage of this map.
We do see NA team now trying to take control of that high ground. That is going to be very important for them, with the both teams playing somewhat of a divey composition. We do see the Reaper go down, but Echo also goes down themselves. That is going to be very difficult for NA team to push now, as we see the Hazard get huge value, finding picks on the supports. NA team's energy has somewhat run out here.
Yeah, I think they might have gotten a bit too split up. That's one thing, but also a bit too maybe eager after getting that Reaper pick. Because like they weren't playing together as you should in a dive, and Bad Kitlients just took advantage of that. And now the ult advantage for Bad Kitlients is massive. Like it's gonna be really hard for an 18 to push through in this fight. And I think they might want to do a dry push here, try and get as many ultimates out of Bad Kitlients as they can, and then hope to win the next fight.
NA team do almost have another Primal Rage, which will give them a bit more sustain. They also now have Pulse. We see Echo committing the copy there. I'm not sure that was the correct choice. That will hurt them in the next fight, because they've just lost a chance to even the ult economy.
Yeah, like initially that fight was really good. Like they did do a dry fight. They did get a lot of ultimates out from Bad Kitlients, but then they overcommitted themselves. But now they're looking to push back into Rhine though, which is kind of interesting here. I think the Echo composition worked.
Yeah, they were definitely finding some progress with the Echo. I don't really see the logic in playing this Rhine comp. They are playing it with an Ana, which is certainly going to give them potential for offense. But as you mentioned, without the Lucio, they don't have the sustained speed boost. They have the very predictable Juno speed ring, which is very easy to play around if you expect it.
Absolutely, very good Maywall at the beginning of that fight. By the way, just isolating the Hazard. Huge beat though for the touch here.
We do see picks coming out for Bad Kitlients. We do see Tracer going down for Bad Kitlients, but it's not really enough to stop the momentum. And again, Bad Kitlients, another team fight. Any team rapidly running out of steam here. They don't have a huge amount of time left.
Absolutely not. They don't have a lot of time, and they don't have enough to enable the Reinhardt here, I think. Like, you kind of need to have that Baptiste to be able to get the Rein in healthy enough, and then having the Lamb to keep him safe while he's in there. The only saving grace, I think, is that they're getting close to Blizzard, and if they can get that before the timer runs out, with a pick like this, they might have a chance.
That's a massive pick for any team. They will look to capitalize on that. Tracer going down. As you mentioned, we do see Blizzard almost coming up. Bad Kitlients need to be very careful here. They're in a very dangerous position, but this is last fight territory for them if they want to cap the second point. But we do see High Noon committed to stop Bad Kitlients from approaching the point, and Blizzard, just in time, comes out, and NA team will cap that point. They only have just over a minute left on the clock to Bad Kitlients' 3 minutes, which is going to be a very difficult situation to come back from, but they are trying. They are pushing at the moment. Bad Kitlients, they don't really need to rush this. They can take their time and play this at their own pace.
Absolutely. Very unlucky losing the Ana in that previous fight, because now you have to wait for the Ana setup to be able to push very effectively. And now also with the Reaper ult coming up, like if Reaper can get to high ground and just drop in and kill the backline, yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge Death Blossom. Comes out from Chroma, pretty much wiping the whole team. Any team are now approaching under a minute that they have left. They have 2-3 team fights left. They need to be very careful here. And Bad Kitlients are certainly keeping them at bay. They're definitely looking like they know what they're doing.
Absolutely, and I think if they can survive this pulse bomb, and actually make it all the way in. They might have a chance with some time, but it's looking really close. Like, this is looking like one of those drawable scenarios.
Any team are finding 2 picks there, 3 picks. Counter pick from Bad Kitlients, though, which means that it evens it somewhat, but any team pushing very strongly here. Again, we are coming into last fight territory, and that's a massive pick from the May, which is going to make it very difficult for Bad Kitlients to do anything. Shatter comes out, and another High Noon. And any team do actually push it all the way and do cap. Unfortunately, that's going to mean a bit of a discrepancy on the time bank. This is still going to be very difficult for any team to come back from.
Yeah, with them going into overtime, they're not gonna get an attack of their own. They're only gonna be able to defend against Bad Kitlients, which means their best scenario right now is a draw. But it is looking like Bad Kitlients might have it set up pretty well to take this map. Not being able to cap first point in 3 minutes, it's not unheard of, but defending for 3 minutes is really difficult.
3 minutes is a very, very long time to hold out, because if it's just a few seconds left, then you can have dry fights on both sides. But all Bad Kitlients need to do at this point is poke and play slow until they have ultimates. They come in with the ultimates and win it. It's going to be very, very difficult for any team to even play for the draw.
Absolutely, and I think just playing a game of attrition here also could work. Like, just throw bodies at the wall, just get any picks, and then use your spawn advantage to just run over, take point, win the map. It's just, yeah, it's one of two ways of doing this.
Spawn doors are now opening as Bad Kitlients are playing a Widow to try and get an early pick there, but we don't see an early pick, and we see Widow switch off and going Farah, which is certainly against any team's brawl-heavy composition. This could be absolutely devastating for them, because they don't really have much in the way of contest. We see they have Anna and they have Cass, which can provide a degree of pressure, but it's going to still be very, very difficult when they're the only ones who can directly contest Farah effectively.
Absolutely, and then you have the combination of pressure from the Genji as well. And as you see now, that just even though they killed the Genji in the beginning, the Pharah just in position to do damage. And I think Bad Kitlients have this in the bank.
The Kitlients have it in the bag as the Pharah switch proved extremely effective, and Bad Kitlients take King's Row very, 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 very convincingly, I think.
Absolutely, that was I think playing the Juno with the Ryan is just not the way of doing it. I also think maybe on this map, if you're gonna play a hit scan in the brawl composition, setting up your hit scan on high ground and just playing Ashe instead, especially on first point, is probably a better way of doing it, because then you have a high ground that the enemy needs to contest, which Ashe can just, like, if the hazard tries to jump out, you use your coach gun, you reposition, and now the enemy hazard is out of position, and then you can just rush the hazard and kill him. I think that's the kind of way they have to play that brawl into what Bad Kitlients was playing there.
I think any team's choice of playing the Rhine there was something that that definitely came back to bite them. It's a choice that I can understand sometimes in a scrim if you have an agreement with the other team that both teams are going to play Rhine, but in a tournament, I'm not sure that's a particularly good call. I think, especially with the current meta, with the hazard-dominated meta, that you're just going to be in for a bad time forcing the Rhine comp.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when they were playing Winston and they were playing Winston with Echo, I think that worked pretty well for them. But then they swapped to Ryan towards the second, the last part of stage 2, and then throughout stage 3, like they just couldn't do what they needed to do quick enough. And I think just keeping the composition they were playing would have been a better choice there.
Well, we're just going to take a short break now. We're going to take 10 minutes, and we hope to see you for the rest of this riveting match after the break. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. We are back today with the fantastic Overwatch match. We've had a lot of action so far. We have bad Kitlients have taken one map, and NA team have taken another. We are on map 3 now, which of course will be Flashpoint, and I believe the teams have picked Suravasa as the next map.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And this is a map where it's going to be interesting to see what they pick. I think the hazard pick that we have been seeing from Bad Kitlians is going to be pretty good on this map, but it's also a map that is really good for Junker Queen. So I kind of hope we get to see some of that, bit of that rush speed composition. I think actually NA team could pull that off with their aggressive plays if they can manage to get enough space to just speed in and do that.
It's been really fascinating so far because we've seen both teams at moments play extremely well and both teams play extremely badly. It's kind of difficult to see which direction this is going.
Absolutely, and just like we were talking a bit in the break about like the Ana Juno with Reinhardt pick, which is still a bit baffling to me, just because like it just goes against everything a standard brawl is like supposed to do, which is like you sustain, you fight for a long time, and through that you win. While the hazard composition is more like we do lots of damage super quick. And just not having that sustain is not gonna work out.
We're just getting information right now on the next hero bans, and any team are banning Lucio. Bad Kitlians are banning Sigma. Some interesting choices there. I'm not entirely sure I see the logic in the Sigma ban.
Well, Sigma Brawl has been a pretty popular pick, and I think there's parts of Servasa where you can set up a Sigma and do a bit of poke. So I can kind of understand it if you don't like playing into like Sigma Brawl. Especially considering like if you're hazard, you go in, you get rocked, it's kind of annoying. So I can see why they would do that. And also Bad Kitlians did or NA team did pick Sigma for a little bit, right?
That is true. The information we also just have is that Coffee will be subbing in for Beza. So they're looking to switch up the roster a little bit on the side of Bad Kitlians.
Yeah, a bit of a change in the main support lineup. It seems like Beza being a player that prefers playing Lucio with Coffee that is a bit more of a Juno player. So maybe we see a little difference in the playstyle there.
And we are going to the map here as both teams are preparing to roll out on the third map of the night, which of course is Suravasa. It will be interesting, as you say, to see what the teams pick here.
Absolutely. It does seem like we get a pause.
Potentially some small technical problems there, perhaps. We will go back to the map as soon as that gets resolved. So far, both teams, as we mentioned, both teams at times playing extremely coordinated and logical, and at other times playing very loose and all over the place. I think both teams just need to tighten up. They play a little bit. Maybe it's nerves is getting to them. It can be very nerve-wracking playing in a tournament. That's a possibility.
Yeah, and I also think it's the first time they're being streamed, but I'm not quite sure on that. But like overall, it seems like Bad Kitlians should just, if they lean into the hazard comp and that kind of playstyle, I think they're gonna do pretty good. And the same thing on NA team. Like if they do what it seems like they're doing now, like into the Junker Queen type compositions, like fast pace, very resolved around like the tank setting the pace. I think they might have a chance of doing stuff against Bad Kitlians.
Well, it
saying a
looks like the
Doomfist,
map
though.
has been reset here and the countdown has started. As you mentioned, it looked like bad Kitlients were going with the Doomfist, but they do switch to the Hazard before coming out the spawn doors. Any team will be playing Junker Queen here, which is a very strong choice, but perhaps the Briggs End backline will lead to them having not really enough sustain. We will see how that plays out. We see a much more common and much more typical comp here on the side of bad Kitlients. Both teams just here starting to feel each other out and just posture as bad Kitlients do approach point first, and we do see Shout come out for NA team just to give them the extra sustain, but the Widow does go down early from a nice rail from bad Kitlients, and that will mean Kitlients will take point. Sorry, my bad. NA team have just taken point control, but they are down one, so we will see bad Kitlients hopefully convert that pick into point control. However, we do see picks come out of both sides, and NA team still have control of point despite being one down. Bad Kitlients do clean up here with the Genji finding huge value and finding many picks with many dashes. Interestingly, NA team have gone over to the Torb. It's an interesting pick in this situation.
Yeah, especially, well, it's a better pick than the Widow because it kind of seems like they were playing a poke with Junker Queen, which is not going to be a good time. They did manage to take point, but I think that's mostly because bad Kitlients were going for kills instead of playing the game, which is bound to happen, especially in this elo. But what I did see in the first fight is that the Genji from bad Kitlients went really deep and kind of forced the Sen out of the fight. And then the Brig also had to kind of back out. And that opens up a lot of space for bad Kitlients to do whatever they want. So I think if that's the way NA team is going to play, they need to make sure that Queen goes aggressive when the Sun is kiting.
NA team winning the tank duel there as Hazard does go down for bad Kitlients, and NA team regaining point control there. Bad Kitlients really need to be careful here because with the speed that the timer goes on Flashpoint, they will need to be very careful here as they risk not being able to get another fight.
Absolutely, I think they have to go in with a blade here, but then we have the Transcendence to counter that. It's gonna be a bit of a rock paper scissors in this fight.
Bad Kitlients are committing the blade, however. Blade does come out, and we do see Trance also come out for NA team, which leads to the blade not getting huge value. The turret from the Torb finding Juno for bad Kitlients. Unfortunate there. And NA team will actually take control of the first point. That was a very interesting fight that we saw many ultimates come out and not really much value for the ultimates used by bad Kitlients.
Yeah, you're very correct there. I also think bad Kitlients is struggling a bit with figuring out how to play against this because like the poke damage is insane as we see with the Torb now.
We see NA team are committing the shout there really quite early. I'm not sure why that was necessary, but we do see a pick come out of it, and that's fine. Of course, we have to remember that NA team don't have the speed boost of a Juno or a Genji, so perhaps they feel they need to commit the shout in order to chase down a kill. Bad Kitlients are now coming up here, and the two tanks are posturing against each other, but Hazard is almost down to half health immediately going down. But Bad Kitlients do have the ult advantage, but that is not going to help them. Of course, if any team are going to find early picks like that, with two picks coming out there, Hazard now going down. Bad Kitlients now really need to be very careful here because they're not really showing much confidence playing against this.
No, I think also they're playing it wrong, considering what the NA team is playing. Like, this is the kind of playstyle that worked in the previous map, because you're playing against someone who's running towards you. Like, NA team is playing a poke. They're waiting for bad Kitlients to go in, they're doing poke damage, and then when they get close enough, the Queen goes in, there's a discord on the target, and like, they can't get to the backline of enemy team, which I think is what they need to do to have a chance here.
We do see bad Kitlients coming out here with some adaptation and some changes as we see the ball coming, which is potentially a very strong pick, but it's not going to do them much good if any team find the picks like that. And they take control of the second point here very cleanly as well, I must say.
It's super clean. Like, so far, there's nothing bad Kitlians can do about this. And I think one of the major issues they're having right now is that they're playing a Sojourn into, like, two poke heroes. Like you have Torb, you have Sen, that can do massive amounts of damage from range, and then you have one poke character on the other team. I think if they had a Tracer Echo composition, they were playing a bit more sneaky, going around into the backline from flanking positions, forcing the Sen out, and then engaging. I think would be stronger here. But swapping to the Junker Queen, I think, is a good pick here. But I think they're still going to struggle to get close enough to do anything with the Torb Sen.
The interesting thing, however, here is that bad Kitlids have arguably the stronger backline to be playing the Jungle Queen in. But as you mentioned, the difficulty will be closing that distance. But the Juno Speed Ring will definitely help them do that. As we find Chroma finding several picks there with some very, very nice rail shots there, and bad Kitlians will convert that to point control as it ticks up to almost 30%. Any team, however, have many ultimates on the board. They have 4 right now, and they're not really going to rush on this unless we may see the rally committed on engage, because with the Briggs then they don't really have a huge amount of sustain.
They don't have a lot of sustain, true. They do have Transcendence to follow up if needed. But that's a good Queen ult engage here.
That Rampage finding massive value there as the anti-effect stops any of bad Kitlians getting the healing. And any team starting to look like they're finding their feet a little bit here.
Yeah, they're capturing a third here is pretty good for them, because now it's going to be really hard to retake with the Torb ultimate. You have Transcendence and Rally to keep people alive, and the Venture is getting close to their ult. So this is going to be a really difficult engage for bad Kitlians, especially when NA team gets picked like this.
NA team do commit the rally, however. That is quite an early rally. I'm not entirely sure of the logic of that, but this is going to be very difficult for bad Kitlians to do anything about, because we are approaching very rapidly last fight territory, which comes incredibly quickly on these flashpoint maps. Bad Kitlians need to be very careful how they engage this. They do have 4 ultimates on the board, where NA team only have the 3. But nevertheless, they need to be very careful how they engage this, and that's not going to help them if they lose the Sojourn early like that. That makes it very difficult. 2 picks then coming. Torb fighting massive value here, as NA team will almost certainly take Sorabasa there exceptionally cleanly.
That was really clean. Like, I don't know how many times it happened, but that Discord Venture initial pick was super important in these fights. Just like, you discard someone, the Venture goes in and just immediately kills them, and then you have the Torb damage to follow up, so your Venture is kind of safe. It's, aside from like the insanely good Sojourn shots, I don't feel like bad Kitlians had a chance at all here.
Very definitely. The engages by NA team were very, very coordinated and very clean. And despite them having the low sustain provided by the Briggs Zen backline with the Junker Queen, it didn't seem to be a hindrance for them. They have definitely practiced that comp, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely practiced it. It kind of looked in the beginning like they would have preferred to play a Sigma with that composition, because you had like pokers, you had the Brig, and then having the shield to keep people alive would have been pretty good. But the fact that they played with such like distance, and then making sure the Queen's in between, and then having the Queen, like if they push too far, the Queen could just shout into the enemy backline, you have discords, and then people can't do anything. I think there was a flimmer of hope in the first fight when the Genji forced the NA team backline backwards. Like, you had to send super far back, being pushed even further back with the Brig coming to join. And all of that done by just the Genji. I think if they played that kind of playstyle more, like swapping the Sojourn for a Tracer with the Hazard, for example, just playing super hard to pressure the backline, make sure the Sen dies, because the Discord's so important for them. I think if you can do that, you have a bigger chance than what we just saw.
If any team can maintain that kind of momentum and maintain that kind of coordination, then that's exactly what they need to take this final from Bad Kitlients. If they can maintain that kind of pressure, it stops Bad Kitlients from being able to organize themselves and respond.
Yeah, I think it kind of went into what I mentioned before this map. If any team can keep their momentum up and have that speed, like that quick aggression kind of play style, it seems like that's the way, like that's kind of the Achilles heel of Bad Kitlians. And I also think Bad Kitlians are struggling a bit with compositions that need them to flank. I think if they can figure out how to do a proper flank, this is going to go way better for them.
When we've seen any team playing hyper aggressive into Bad Kitlians, you are correct. It does seem that Bad Kitlians don't know how to respond to that. They don't seem to have any kind of game plan what to do if they do get pushed really aggressively like that. Whether it be to kite and peel for their backline or to counter dive, they just don't seem to be in any way coordinated of what they want to do in response to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if they just take a lot of time to set up what they want to do, if that's the issue they're having, or if just the amount of pressure is just like, oh damn, oh damn, oh damn, we don't know what to do. We haven't practiced this. But I do think with like minor swaps to their compositions and a little bit more focused on flanking, like I think they tried doing it when they swapped the ball, but it's really hard to play ball when you don't have a tracer. Like the shots from Sojourn really good in that one fight, but I don't think it's worth keeping that Sojourn in that scenario.
Of course, now that is map 3, so we're now on to map 4, which is S-Cope maps, and it's currently looking, yes, we've just had confirmation that the map has been picked, and it will be Watchpoint Gibraltar, with both teams both favouring the dive on both sides. This will be a very interesting matchup. The bans so far, Bad Kitlians are going to ban Kiri, and any team will ban Genji. A lot more sense in those bans. I can see much more logic behind those ones.
Absolutely. The funny thing is, like, that those are the exact same bands from map 1, but the different teams doing the bands. But on this map, it makes more sense than on Ilios. The Kiri is just going to enable an Ana, and banning a Genji is just going to, make it hard to reach high ground. So you need to play a bit differently. I think on this map, like, if you go into a Monkey Echo Tracer comp, I think that would be the way to go here.
Well, the map is indeed starting now as we go to Watchpoint Gibraltar, which will be our 4th map of the night. Any team will be wanting to look here for a way to maintain their momentum and keep the pressure on Bad Kitlians, because they do seem to make bad decisions when the pressure is applied to them. Any team will most likely want to play a classic Winston dive. They do seem to favor that comp when they do play dive, and they do seem to play it extremely well. They play it with the sort of level of aggression that not only do you expect, but you also need, because you need that momentum and you need to be able to push forward.
Absolutely. You need that momentum, you need that speed. And I think in this being a best of 7 or a first to 4, I really think Bad Kitlians need to take this map to be able to regain their momentum. Like, if they lose this map, it's going to be really tiring for them to be able to turn us around.
Both teams at the moment are just selecting their heroes. We don't see anything on either side just yet. As soon as we see anything, and we do see, as expected, NA team will be playing the Winston, a very solid choice there. Anna Brig backline, very, very true, tried and tested. Something that both teams will have a lot of experience in playing. Bad Kitlients also going for the Winston here, and we see a Widow on both teams. This is almost a mirror matchup. The only difference is the Sombra for Bad Kitlients. This is exactly. I feel this is exactly what any team want. This is a composition they've already shown themselves to be quite proficient on.
Absolutely. I'm not sure about the Sombra. Now they're doing a TP out of spawn kind of thing with the sim. But if they go back to Sombra, that's going to be interesting. I think that might be because they're expecting a... okay, they are going Tracer. So now it is a full mirror matchup on Gibraltar.
We see both teams just starting the early stages of engages here, and Bad Kitlients just basically trying to get some point progress there as Tracer does push there. Both Anna and Brig have teleported across safely and are looking to set up now, and that's a massive pick there. That's a really, really solid shot there from Widow, from NA team there, taking out the competition, and then another on the Monkey. That's 2 picks. Bad Kitlients will now need to go back, stabilize, and plan their next engage. Really solid showing there from NA team.
That was really solid. Really good aggression there from Bad Kitlients, though. I like the fact that the supports were that aggressive that quickly. The downside is kind of that your Widow's dead, so the enemy Widow pretty much has free range. But so far not bad from Bad Kitlients, but they need to pressure the NA team Widow a bit more, I think.
Oh, both Winstons are currently staring at each other, and we see Bad Kitlients are trying to push the backline a little bit more. NA team currently very effectively holding the blue box section of this map, with Winston looking to dive the backline there, forcing Anna Brig back and forcing Bad Kitlients Winston to kite a bit and peel for the Anna Brig, which is going to really slow them down potentially, but we do see a massive hit for Bad Kitlients with NA team's Tracer going down.
Yeah, really good positioning and rotation from the Bad Kitlients backline there. Good follow-up by the Winston from NA team, and now just getting the pick on Ana. This is really good for Bad Kitlients here. If they can solidify this and push the point to capture, that's really good.
So far, the Widow pick is working for both teams, with both Widows finding huge amounts of value. But right now, it is Chroma for Bad Kitlients finding the bigger value, and it looks very much that Bad Kitlients will cap the first point here. At the moment, NA team are currently contesting, but it looks like it's just a matter of time until the Winston goes down. We do see Nano come out in a desperate attempt to try and hold the point here, but eventually Winston does go down, and at the moment NA team are still trying to contest here. They're still holding on. We see the Tracer go down and still holding on barely, but we do see Bad Kitlients cap first point there with a decent time bank as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty good first couple of fights from Bad Kitlients. I think the Widow deal was working in their favor, as I mentioned, and yeah, just really good. Also, pretty good stall from NA team there. Just making sure that Bad Kitlients aren't getting anything for free. But yeah, really good aggression by Bad Kitlients here, and I think they can keep this momentum up. This is gonna even out the score.
Bad Kitlients currently throwing extremely strong map control here by taking the shuttle in the middle there. A very, very, very strong place to set up. We do see Bad Kitlients winning the Tracer duel, and again, Chroma finding huge value on the Widow there, finding another pick. Unfortunately, Bad Kitlients Brig does go down, but the picks are in favor of Bad Kitlients right now, as we see Primal committed by NA team, finding Chroma, which will be a big relief to the heads of the backline of NA team. And at the moment, we see point contested for NA team, but at the moment Bad Kitlients have the momentum behind them, and we see a huge pick again. Bad Kitlients Tracer losing the Tracer duel again. That's not something they want to be doing repeatedly. That's not going to work in their favor.
Absolutely not. Like, that Tracer duel seems to be one-sided so far, but this is a pretty good last-minute hold from NA team. Does seem like they're giving up point control here. No, it's a couple of meters left. And they just barely managed to hold on to point 2. That's pretty good.
We saw a massive nade there by Bad Kitlients. Kind of a shame that wasn't followed up, because that was really well played there by Bad Kitlients Anna. But NA team do come forward there. NA team currently don't have any ultimates on the board. Bad Kitlients have no ultimates either right now. But we see sights coming up for side of Bad Kitlients. That's not really a game-changing ultimate, so both teams will definitely want to take this next fight quite dry.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult with a 1v1 with the sides up, but aside from that, I don't think the teams care pretty much about it. Backlamp maybe had to play a bit more safe. Good aggression here by the Winston, just making sure that the backline can't move around freely as they want, and just cleaving through the choke. Pretty good play.
At the moment, we see NA team have taken control of the shuttle themselves. Strongest point in the entire map. This is something they really want to hold. We see rally committed by Bad Kitlients, and then we see 2 picks coming on the side of the Winston for Bad Kitlients. It's very bad news for any team. They're going to very much struggle to prevent a point cap at this point. All they can really hope to do is bleed off the time, and as much as they're trying, the picks do come in strong and fast. Bad Kitlients will cap this next point.
Yeah, really good aggression again from Bad Kitlients. It's kind of interesting to see how much they're going back and forth between the maps. Like on the previous map, NA team looked super dominant. On this map so far, Bad Kitlients are looking like you wouldn't expect the previous map to be as one-sided as it was with how they're playing on this map.
It is very, very much a to and fro tonight, and also quite difficult to predict, because as we discussed in the break, we kind of expected NA team to do much better on this map than they have. So it's proven to be a very, very interesting night so far. We see sights come out for NA team. They only really have Rally as well. No, sorry, not Rally. Nano. My apologies. They only really have the Nano to work with right now, whereas Bad Kitlients have both the Primal and the Nano to work with, which will make for a very, very strong engage indeed. Nano is committed for NA team, but the Winston is then antied, which is going to make their ability to get value in that kind of difficult. We see Primal come out on the side of Bad Kitlients as a response, and again, NA team are just folding fight after fight.
Yeah, I felt like the tank from NA team did a really good job on utilizing on that Nano. But then the team kind of folded a bit behind it. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see Primal in that fight, because getting Primal in that situation, just denying card push and then making sure your team can set up for the next fight would be pretty good, especially with the enemy Widow doing as much damage as they are.
Well, NA team quite convincingly stopped the push there. Bad Kitlients will have to go back and reset and just regroup. Both tanks playing exceptionally well here, both very commanding, both taking control of the space, and both very confident. It just seems at the moment right now that NA team is struggling more with the follow-up on that. But we are approaching overtime right now. This is the last fight territory for Bad Kitlients, and Bad Kitlients aren't able to make it back 2 points, which NA team will stop the card progress before capping 3rd point, which is really, really, really good news for them.
Absolutely, and I would say, I was saying it looked kind of one-sided from the beginning of the map, but then looking at the time bank and how much NA team was stalling, both on the 1st point cap and the 2nd point cap, I think it looked more one-sided than it actually was. It was just... I was kind of surprised that it went into overtime when it did. I thought we had more time.
Ready for battle.
Because it is NA team's time to push on the attack phase. They look like they're going to go with the classic strategy of teleporting the backline across to the high ground on the left there. Very, very strong strategy. Looks like both teams are going to play the Widow again. I feel Widow was a very good pick for both teams. Both Widows found huge value, but of the two Widows, I have to say Chroma was finding just slightly more value.
Yeah, it did look like Chroma was having a bit of a better day on Widow so far. But then again, like I think the tank play from the attack on NA team, like that Winston positioning, the aggression, I think it denies so much from the rest of bad Kitlients that even though the Widow is winning the duel, it's not winning them the match.
Now we see spawn doors have opened. Any team just trying to get a little bit of progress here on the payload as Tracer pushes it under a bit as the rest of the team looks to start their engage. You do see the backline have made it across, but that's a massive anti from bad Kitlients, which lands straight on the brig, which will make it impossible to push, and the brig does indeed go down there. That's the downside of this rotation of moving your backline across there. It's a perfect angle to get a nade across the map.
Absolutely, and I think the execution was better from bad Kitlians earlier. Their backline was quicker on the rotation. They were basically up there when the monkey jumped up. While in this scenario, they were on rotation when the monkey went up, which means they weren't part of the fight. Which means they were counter-diveable by the enemy Winston. So, bit of a difference in timing there, but they're getting good card push regardless.
Very good progress, as you say. NA Team's Tracer is winning the Tracer duel this time round, which is going to allow them to push a little bit further. We see the Widow drop back there to safety, the safety of the brig shield. Very, very good strategy indeed. But we see NA Team's Winston is definitely looking to dive the Widow there. We saw him looking over there. Bad Kitlients do lose their tank, however. This will allow NA Team even more progress, and that's good aggression we see from NA Team there, pushing the Widow back. Widow is forced to kite, and now bad Kitlients Widow is actually struggling to find value with the pressure put on them. Nano comes out. NA Team again pushing very, very hard. Bad Kitlients looking a bit split here, and the picks are coming out on side of NA Team, and it looks like at the moment NA Team will cap first point here as a massive anti comes out. Bad Kitlients Winston will die from that. And again, NA Team also playing with good aggression. Both teams playing with good aggression here, and both teams folding on the defense around about a similar rate.
Yeah, really good aggression. One thing I probably would have liked to see a little bit was I saw the Winston on NA Team going a bit too much on the backline there instead of focusing on card push, because I think if he helped on card against the Tracer, they would have kept quicker here.
So massive pulse comes out, finding the brig, and then Primal committed, finding two targets, and bad Kitlients stopped NA Team from pushing any further for this fight. But that does leave bad Kitlients with not much in the way of ultimates, and we see pulse come out for NA Team, but that doesn't find anything. That's bad news for NA Team. We do see rally come out for bad Kitlients, but during that, bad Kitlients Winston does go down, which will allow NA Team to take point control. And what I would like to see them do here is take control of the top of the ship. Very strong position and very difficult to move people off once they've set up.
Yeah, absolutely. The getting that stagger on the Winston is giving them so much card push, and now the Tracer winning the duel again. Losing the brig there is a bit annoying, but I think they can manage to push through this if they just control the high ground.
Chroma does go down, which leaves bad Kitlients without a Widow here. Bad Kitlients do respond though, taking the Ana out for NA Team, but at the moment it does look indeed like NA Team has the momentum, and the picks do indeed keep coming on the side of NA Team, and it looks like it may be finding a situation where bad Kitlients only have one fight left until they can prevent the cap from second point. NA Team get the cap. They're looking like the stronger team right now. They have a huge amount more time on the time bank. Bad Kitlients will need to be very, very careful here. This payload's coming very, very close to the end now.
Absolutely. Really good team play by NA Team. They're just focusing on card push the entire time to second point. Not focusing too much on controlling ship or or like rotating people to high ground if they can just push the cart and basically just play the game of Overwatch instead of playing deathmatch, which I think was a pretty good call on that point. And now they're looking really close to winning this map.
It is just mere meters away that the payload has to travel to allow NA team to take this map, which would leave them in a very, very strong position to take the rest of the final. And that is a very, very, very strong pick for NA team, and it's going to make it very, very difficult now for Bad Kitlients to do anything about that. We do see the Primal come out, though, finding the Ana, but the pick on the Bad Kitlients Winston is going to make it perilously close here, as we are in absolute last fight for Bad Kitlients to prevent the push. But we see Tracer finding the brig again, stopping the progress and the pressure of NA team, but they're perilously close here.
Yeah, a bit of a panic nano on the Tracer there, but I think it worked out because it created a lot of space for Bad Kitlients to contest here.
Bad Kitlients lose their tank, which means that it's extremely difficult for Bad Kitlients to contest now. This is very, 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 very close for any team to take it, because they take this fight 4v5, and that's another pick. That's 2 picks, and it looks very much like NA team will take this map, and which will put them in a commanding position to take the entire of the tournament. That was extremely, extremely well played by NA team. Very, very solid team play. Very, very, very coordinated. Very impressive.
Yeah, I think the way they've been playing the cart and playing the objective throughout this map was really good. I think it so looked it looked so one-sided in the initial attacks from Bad Kitlients that I didn't realize at all that NA team was just stalling, and making sure that they were winning the game. Even they were winning the war, even though they lost a couple of battles. And we just saw it again on that second point, just constant card push the entire time, and just denying the Bad Kitlians to play the game. Basically, that was really well played on a team level from NA team.
Certainly, pushing the payload and concentrating on that, it very much can work on dive maps, but it is sort of situational, and you have to analyze if the enemy team have the capacity to cause you damage from that kind of range. But NA team correctly assessed that that was their best play, and they pushed forward with it, and it worked out for them.
Absolutely. It's kind of like a throwback to the early days of professional Overwatch. If you remember the times when Rogue was so dominant in 2017. And they kind of invented that playstyle that we saw from NA team right now, where you didn't care about the fights as much. You cared about the point. You cared about winning the game. And it seems to still be working over 7 years later, which is interesting.
Of course, that puts NA team to 3 maps taken now, which means should they win this next one, which will be push, they stand to take the entire final here.
Yeah, push maps being notorious for being Junker Queen type maps. And seeing how good NA team was on Junker Queen on Flashpoint, I'm seeing a bit of a prediction forming in my head towards NA team now. It wasn't easy for them to get here, I would say, but if they can keep this up, this aggression, this speed, I think they have this finals in the bag.
It will be interesting to see what the hero bans will show, because if Kitlients are if they're clever and if they're shrewd, they will want to be banning Queen here.
Absolutely, I would be very surprised if we don't see a Queen ban. And none of the teams can ban Kiriko, so that's not going to happen. I don't think Lucio. Yeah, I think Queen might be the correct choice for them on this map. I can't really see any other ban that would make sense here.
It looks like, from what I can see at the moment, it will be Esperanza. That's an interesting choice. That of all the maps they could have picked, I feel Esperanza gives the most leeway in comps that they can play that will be viable here.
Absolutely. It's also the worst of the push maps for Queen, I would say. So I think it's actually a pretty good choice for them. It's a good map for Hazard as well, because you have a lot of like small high grounds that you can utilize. You can use the jumps and the climbs that Hazard has.
So we just have information here of the hero bans have been announced. Bad Kitlients are banning Zen, which is that's an interesting choice. NA team are banning Hazard. I can see the logic in that, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more Hazard bans so far. I don't fully understand the Zen ban.
I think it's because I think they're having a bit of a thought that Chaza is a bit of a Zen one trick. Because they're forcing Zen in compositions where Zen shouldn't work. But she's playing Zen really well. Like yeah, it comes back to the Flashpoint map, but like they're not able to reach Zen, and then the Discord just hurt too much. So in that sense, I think it makes sense, but it's also a bit of a weird one. Yeah.
Well, we're just about to go to the map here. This will be very, very, very exciting because NA team will want to capitalize on the momentum they've got tonight. They know Bad Kitlient's morale will have suffered on the last couple of maps, and they will want to capitalize on that. They will want to maintain the pressure, and it will be very interesting to see how they do that.
Absolutely, and considering this is a first to 4, NA team is on match point, so if they win this map, they will win the grand finals of the rookie division of the Crown Cup. So it's looking really good for NA team right now. Like if they can figure out how to keep that momentum and just finish them off, yeah, they're going home victorious.
Yeah, so no pressure on Bad Kitlients at this point. What do you feel Bad Kitlients could do to improve their game so far?
I think they're kind of onto it with what they're picking right now. I think if they were playing a ball composition with a flyer and a tracer, I think that would be the one thing that NA team is going to struggle with. Mostly because we haven't seen that much like impactful hit scan from NA team. But playing the ball with a Reaper, I think it's interesting and a bit of weird. But if the Reaper can make it to the Sigma, it might work out for them. But it's going to be difficult.
NA team are playing the Sig with this composition. They have massive, massive amounts of bridge spam, which is going to make it very difficult to actually close the distance.
Yeah, very difficult to close the distance, and also very difficult to do any card pushing, as we're seeing right now. Like, the bot pushed up until the starting point and then has been standing still while the teams are just positioning.
Venture does go down for NA team, though. That's a massive pick for Bad Kitlients. That was actually really well played. The timing by Bad Kitlients was really good. They played it quite slow, and they were quite methodical, and they pushed when they saw an advantage.
Yeah, really good setup. They're taking the time to actually do flanks, which is what I've been asking them to do the entire time. It seems to be working out for them right now. Yeah, just really, really good positioning, really good rotation from them there. They can keep this up throughout the game. They might have a chance to turn this around.
Of course, Bad Kitlients are now playing the ball with the Tracer, which is going to provide them with massively huge more amounts of value than they were seeing when they were playing the ball comp previously. We do see picks coming out on both sides so far, with Venture again going down early. That is something that NA team are not going to be very happy about, because that's currently their main source of damage. Again, picks coming in on both sides, so it's kind of difficult to see, but we do see NA team do get the upper hand there and do take control of the bot back and start pushing it back. Yeah,
kind of weird for the Reaper there to TP in close into like a Torbjorn. Probably not recommended, considering Torbjorn is just Reaper but with the option of range. yeah, just they need to play a bit better once they have the advantage, I think.
We do see the Venture ult coming out here, finding huge value by taking the Kiri out, which is absolutely exactly what any team want. Bad Kitlients not then having any main source of healing is going to make them really, really suffer. But the ball is finding huge counter picks, and the Torb and the turret both go down, which will really, really work in favor of Bad Kitlients to take back bot control. This ball is really working for Bad Kitlients right now, finding massive value.
Yeah, they're able to utilize a bit more of angles and flanks than they have been previously in the tournament or in the match today, and I think this is exactly what they needed to do to be able to turn it around for them. Like, this is the kind of playstyle that they need to be able to win against an A team. They need to have those flankers. They need to shut down the backline, and by doing this, like, yeah, I think they have a chance here. But then again, it is a push map. The first 8 minutes basically doesn't count, so they can always turn around.
Bad Kitlients right now are definitely starting to show they have the momentum on their side as the picks do come in, each team fight on the side of Bad Kitlients. So any team will need to be quite cautious about how they approach this right now. Don't forget, should Bad Kitlients win this map, it is still match point for any team if they win the next. They only have to win the next to take the entire tournament final.
Absolutely. Really good picks coming out from both sides here now. It looks like Bad Kitlients are with an advantage still so far.
It looks like Bad Kitlients Lucio, though, going extremely low, almost dying, but just gets out. At the moment, it does look like Bad Kitlients still have the upper hand. We see Beat come out. Beat is committed to give them that little bit of extra sustain. But in terms of ult economy, it's not looking especially strong for any team. But that's a massive, massive flux we see come out there that halts the progress of Bad Kitlients and allows any team just that little bit of a breather and a little bit of a space for them to reassess things and just reorganize themselves.
Yeah, if they get one more fight like this map is basically open for both teams. But Bad Kitlients have some pretty substantial ultimates coming out. Like, Mines can contest point for ages, and the Reaper ult, if he can get into position, can completely decimate the team, which is what he's trying here, but got caught out.
Any team at this point really, really wants to look to take this next fight to change the pace of momentum more in their favour, and it looks like that's exactly what they will do as picks come in. 2 picks down the side for NAT, but then Bad Kitlients do respond, finding 2 picks of their own, and we now see the save for NAT going down, which is not what they want.
Yeah, the ball is doing a really good job in splitting up the NA team. Like, by doing that, they managed to get NA team to just focus in different ways. Like, the Sigma was trying to push cart there was Mines in between, and now the backline had a ball on them. And then they lose Brig, they lose Sigma, and basically lose the fight because they're unable to play the same game. It looks like Bad Kitlients are doing a really good job here.
Bad Kitlients do find a pick on the Torb that's going to be really, really advantageous for them. However, NA Team's Brig does find a counter pick onto the Reaper. Reaper does go down. At the moment, though, it does look like Bad Kitlients are holding the momentum in their favour. NA Team will need to be very careful here because they risk falling out in terms of ult economy.
Yeah, and it seems like the same thing is happening here. The ball is like booping the backline back, and that's where Bad Kitlients want to fight. While the Sigma is up here trying to do his darnest to push that bot. And so far, it doesn't seem like NA team's focus on card push is working out as good here as it did on the previous map.
At the moment, Bad Kitlients are still getting some more bot progress here. They are in the lead in terms of distance, and we see Beat and Mines on side of Bad Kitlients. NA team have 3 ults. They have Flux, Rally, and Torb ult, but it's not going to help them if they're still losing players early like that. Their Venture has gone down early many times now, which is really going to hurt NA team's chances of taking a clean team fight.
And it seems like Bad Kitlients also adapting a bit to the Reaper not getting as much space as they would want. Going into the Pharah here, I think is exactly what I was hoping they were gonna do when we talked about that map in the beginning.
Torb now finding some counter picks though for NA team, which will give them a moment to breathe and just reassess the situation. We still see more ultimates on side of NA team. They still have Rally, they still have Flux, whereas Bad Kitlients only really have the beat to be working with. And we see another big pick as the Kiri duel takes place. NA team winning that one, and it now gives them the chance to just reconsolidate themselves and just assess what's going on, because I feel they haven't been given that chance so far.
They absolutely haven't been given that chance so far, but it's going to be really difficult for them to survive both the ball rolling through them with the Tracer follow-up and Pharah spam. This is going to be super difficult for NI team to survive. You're going to see it a bit in the movement of the break. They're a bit like, oh, there's stuff happening over there, there's stuff happening over here. This is kind of like a sensory overload kind of composition from Bad Kitlients here.
I really like the Pharah pick here by Bad Kitlients. As you say, it just adds an extra dimension of ranged pressure, and there's nothing really on the side of any team that can effectively contest the Pharah.
Yeah, there's nothing that can contest the Pharah. If you also have the ball rolling through, like, booping you, it's also really difficult to, like, control a space. And it's also, like, a huge stagger there on the Sigma. Like, Bad Kitlients are playing really well right now. They're just playing anti-NA team. And it's working out pretty well for them.
We do see NA team is starting to make some changes. We see the switch to D.Va, which is definitely going to help them out with preventing that Pharah from getting too much value. That is definitely a pick I like to see. However, Bad Kitlients are now showing some strong ults on their side. They have Rush and they have Barrage, potentially teamfight winning in their own right. We do see Rush on the side of NA team as well, but they will need to be very careful here or they risk falling out of the ult economy balance.
Yeah. Swapping tank to only deal with 1 DPS is usually not a good idea. That's a bit of a picks on both sides, but yeah, picking D.Va to counter Pharah is not what I would call like a really good choice.
We are reaching overtime here, so this is last fight territory. NA team do get an early pick. The Brig though for NA team going down, which will make it very difficult, and that's now 2 picks for Bad Kitlients, and it's looking very much like Bad Kitlients will take Esperanza, which means we go to another map, and again it will be match point for NA team should that happen. That's a massive pulse there, and that is a map win for Bad Kitlients. And we continue on to another map in tonight's really epic and full of twists and turns tale.
Very full of twists and turns. Bad Kitlients evening out the scores a little bit. NA team's still on match point here, but that was really well played by Bad Kitlients. They just realized that if we just counter how they want to play, we can do stuff. And it's working pretty well for them.
Indeed. I feel that Bad Kitlients, they look like the more coordinated team out there, which was really interesting considering the level of coordination we've seen so far from NA team.
Yeah, and I think what helped is that they like playing the ball was always a good choice, I think, against NA team. But then this is the first time they paired the ball with a Tracer. And I think that's basically what enables that playstyle, because you have the ball to rotate through, split people off, move people around, and just be a nuisance with like a disrupt component. And then you do that, you isolate someone. If you can then slam down, and then you have Tracer coming in, they are dead. And I think like even though they had Torb to deal with like the Tracer kind of situation, that's where the Pharah pick comes in. It's like you pick Pharah, you can spam out any turret that would be annoying the Tracer, and then you just have the combination of like ball rolls through, Pharah hits a rocket, calls out the target, Tracer comes in, kills that target. It's just like you boop them out of position, you damage them, you kill them. That's basically how you play that composition, and it worked out really well for them. And I think that was exactly what they needed to disrupt the kind of aggression, speedy aggression thing that we talked about from NA team. I think that was a really good adaptation from Bad Kitlients there.
Of course, trying to play a poke comp like that into dive is always extremely challenging. I'm really quite surprised we didn't see any team adapt more or have a wholesale change in the comp. We did see the switch from the SIG to the Diva towards halfway in the map, but I really expected any team to more sort of change their entire comp and entire strategy, because they essentially just tried the same thing over and over again and failed.
Yeah, I think swapping, as I mentioned a little bit, just like swapping tank to counter 1 DPS is usually not a good idea, because then you enable the other DPS on the enemy team to do whatever they want. And then also, like, if you fly up with Diva to kind of disable a Pharah, if the Pharah is good enough to just avoid you for 2 seconds and then go back in, you don't have your boosters anymore, which means the Pharah can still do her job. So you're basically just like you're using your boosters to buy 2 seconds of time. And if your team can't capitalize on that and kill the entirety of the enemy team, you're basically swapping a tank to do nothing. Because like the space that you could create by contesting anything else, like going in on the backline, for example, would be way more impactful than just like playing against the Pharah for a couple of seconds.
It has been a really, really fascinating night so far. I believe each team has taken a map, and then the other over the whole course of the night. It's incredibly back and forth, and very difficult to really predict what direction it was going in. At one time, NA team did look like they were starting to get the momentum on their side, but Bad Kitlients have responded and basically taken the wind out of NA team's sail.
Absolutely. I think after that King's Row map where Bad Kitlients won, I think NA team kind of figured out something, especially when it comes to the hazard playstyle that Bad Kitlients have been playing, and just realized that like if we can play with a safe backline and do poke, the mindset of Bad Kitlients have been a bit too much run down mid. And I think they took advantage of that. On Esperanza, Bad Kitlients chose a comp that is like automatically not run down mid. And also banning Zenyatta probably also helps a little bit against that. And I think just like all the circumstances kind of lined up for Bad Kitlients there. Good composition. I think it was a good ban from them banning Sen, because the Sen on NA team is pretty strong. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that mindset up now that Hazard's back in the game. And now that Sen is back in the game. Like, what can you ban from NA team here to enable you to play a playstyle that NA team doesn't like?
Well, of course, it is still match point for NA team. Just one more win, and they do take the final. So the pressure is really on Bad Kitlients now to repeat the performance of the last map and take the next one and take it into a tiebreaker, essentially.
Yeah, and I would be. We do have the bands coming in now and the map pick. So the map is going to be Busan. We're back onto control now, since we're going through the entire roster of map types. And NA team is banning Tracer, and Bad Kitlients are banning Reinhardt, which I find really weird.
The Tracer ban I can see, because we've seen NA team's Tracer lose the Tracer duel many times. That one I really can understand. The Reinhardt ban is very, very strange to me.
Yeah, especially on a map like Busan. Like, one of the maps work really well with Brawl, but then you have other Brawl options on those maps that arguably are stronger. And yeah, the Tracer I do understand, because like as I mentioned, with the Tracer in combination with the ball was one of the main issues on that Esperanza map. So Yeah, I think from the side of NA team, I understand the Tracer ban. I probably would have argued banning the ball because then you force a playstyle a bit more. But the banning on the Tracer is pretty good. The ban on Reinhardt, I don't understand.
It looks like we are starting with Sanctuary here tonight. This is a very wide, a very open map. This is a map, again, this is a map that you can really play many comps on. It would be interesting to see if any team choose the pokey SIG composition that they've played in Esperanza. And it does look like they're going with that.
It does look like they're going with that. And Bad Kitlients with like a different version of the same thing. Like double flyer brigs and ball is a classic. I really enjoyed back in the day when that was meta. And I think that's one of the things that they probably need to do on this map to be able to beat out the poke style that NA team has selected here. If you can use that ball to disrupt and then follow up with flyer damage and discords, yeah, this is going to be a good map.
We see a mirror in both teams' backlines here, both playing the Brig and the Zen. I feel that the Brig and the Zen enables the ball comp much stronger than the SIG comp though.
Absolutely. The sustain for Sigma compared to the mobility of ball is a very interesting one, and also considering the double flyers is yeah, ball not quite getting away from the Zen there though.
Of course, as we pointed out, the Zen player for NA team is extremely competent and finds an early pick there, and it looks like it's working out very much in favor for NA team, as that Discord is basically just shutting down the ball's ability to engage.
Yeah, and a bit of a weird counter pick here with Sombra. I think they're just trying to hard counter the Zen here, which is going in on the backline with hacks. But it's going to be difficult to get there because it seems like they're struggling against the Venture here.
Well, NA team do have point control winning the first team fight, which makes it very difficult for Bad Kitlients to respond to that, because NA team's composition does favor the long range, and now Bad Kitlients have to approach from long range, which is not where this composition wants to be. Nevertheless, we are finding picks coming in on the side for Bad Kitlients, which makes it very difficult for NA team now to maintain that point presence. But we do see picks coming back in response. NA team finding picks, maintaining point control, which is now ticking past 52%. This is looking like this is very strong for NA team, with the SIG on NA team finding massive value there, finding the picks, shutting down Bad Kitlients.
Yeah, this is like a bit of a show off between like having a shield and having disrupt. That's basically what we're seeing here, because the point of the disrupt is basically to roll through the enemy team and boot people into long range poke. That's how you play ball comp with poke with the poke style. Now they're swapping more into a bit of a dive, which I think is a good thing here. But NA team is more like, we have a shield, we can sustain through poke with the shield and with longer positioning, which has been working out pretty well for them so far.
NA team now committing the ultimates. We see EMP come out for Bad Kitlients, which shuts down that defense very, very, very quickly, and it looks like Bad Kitlients will take point control in overtime. However, NA team just need one team fight to now take this map, which puts them in a very, very commanding position.
Yeah, that was a really expensive fight for Bad Kitlients, though. They had to use a lot of ultimates there with EMP, Transcendence, and Mines being committed. They're not very close to any of the others from what I can see. And if NA team can just do a bit of poke here, play a bit slow, get their ultimates up, and they can force a fight on point with the Venture ult, I think they have this map in the bag.
NA team do start the engagement with sights, which will let them know where the enemy are placed. And we do see that Venture ult comes out here, not finding a huge amount of value, however, but some huge aggression there on the Venture, finding the picks. Very, very nice indeed, as Sombra does go down, and that's another pick, and this will make it almost impossible for Bad Kitlients to do anything. And in overtime, last fight, NA team will almost certainly take Sanctuary on Busan.
Yeah, really good pick on the Sombra in the beginning of that fight. Like, I feel like the Sombra is playing a bit too much like a Tracer. And I feel like the Venture is basically shutting down the Sombra the same way they did the Tracer in previous maps. It's just like the Tracer tries to take a duel with Venture and just dies. And yeah, I kind of feel like NA team has really nailed down that kind of poke composition. And it's really difficult for bad Kitlients to do anything about it, especially when they kind of don't hard commit to the play style of the composition they're choosing. Like if they played that ball composition a bit more correctly with like setting up a sideline for Widow and then booping people into the sideline, I think they would have a higher chance of winning that map. Mostly because I think the Widow on bad Kitlients is slightly stronger than on NA team.
We do see NA team who's gone with a much more typical dive composition here. We do see the Widow, which is a minor variation, but very strong on downtown. We do like to see the Widow here. It's nice to see the battle of the two Widows on the high ground. But bad Kitlients are playing a much more conventional hazard brawl here, it looks like, with not a huge amount of dive potential.
Yeah, not that much dive potential, but very brawly in the way they're playing the hazard composition because of that Reaper. Like, if they can make it in, they have so much damage compared to what NA team has. But NA team has the mobility to do stuff like this, like going into the backline and destroying it.
We do see picks coming in on both sides. Bad Kitlients do currently have point control, however, but we see Malzahar on Winston there. Huge value, picking the right targets and taking them down at the right time. So while Bad Kitlients do have 32% point control and Reaper just trying to stall it out here, NA team will take back point control.
Yeah, pretty good play from NA team there. Really good use of the Winston. Also, I think the Genji is doing pretty well here. Yeah, just able to go in on the enemy backline in a way that bad Kitlients aren't. It's going to be really advantageous here. Just like the hazard just can't get as deep, so if the backline plays a bit more defensively, they only have to deal with a Genji, and not like the Reaper and the hazard.
We see bad Kitlients hazard, trying to take control of the high ground here, but we see a massive pick coming on the side of NA team as the Ana takes out their Lucio, which will force them to regroup and lose more time on the time bag. As at the moment, point control is currently approaching the same progression on both sides of the team, so a bit of nerves on side of bad Kitlients, I would imagine, as this isn't going in the direction they want.
Really well played by the Genji there, just waiting out the Kitsune before blading, but then unlucky with the follow up. Yeah, that was a pretty good engage by bad Kitlients. They managed to kind of force out ultimates and then play through them, which is what you want to do in this kind of situation. NA team used 3 ultimates in that fight. Bad Kitlients have their blade up and running, and I think if they can find a good timing for it, this is going to be a pretty good fight for them.
NA team, of course, they do have the nano engage, which can be massively strong, especially if they get first pick like that. That's huge. The Genji and the Reaper going down, that's massive. And Lucio going down, which is massive for NA team because Lucio had the beat, which could have provided them with a bit of sustain. So NA team will convert that to a point flip just in the nick of time as well, with point control about to tick over to the 90% range. A very strong showing by NA team there, and bad Kitlients will feel very bad about dying with the beat there, I feel.
Yeah, and also the way they utilized the blade there was, yeah, you don't want to blade inside a small room against 3 people, because you could just get naded and then like shield bashed and then you die.
Bad Kitlients Reaper needs to be very careful here or risk being taken down early, which will not work at all for bad Kitlients. Picks coming in on both sides. NA team are now without their Ana and without their Genji as well. That's really, really, really unfortunate for NA team. 3 picks now coming in, and it's going to be very difficult for NA team to do anything about this as we're ticking over almost 100% as they desperately try to contest. And the Winston Malzahar there goes almost immediately down because having to contest 5v1. So that will almost certainly be a win for Bad Kitlients as they take Busan to a third round.
Yeah, kind of feel like they didn't respect the Reaper enough in those last fights. Just like being a monkey on half health going into a narrow corridor against the Reaper, that's a bad idea. And also not communicating to their Ana that the Reaper is like behind her. That's yeah. I think they need to work a little bit on their adrenaline right now, because I feel like they're kind of tasting the victory, and then they're making bad decisions because they're trying to like force it as quickly as possible right now. Is what it feels like to me.
It looks like at the moment that we're having a brief pause, maybe some technical issue, as one of Bad Kitlients has disconnected. So we'll bring that to you again as soon as we can get back. At the moment, it's anyone's bag. It is 1-1. We go to the third map, which will be Mecha Base. Literally, anyone can take this.
Absolutely. NA team kind of needs to calm down a little bit and just make sure just make sure they're playing their game correctly, not be too eager to win, because now it's like they're on match point, they're on both map and match point. Like if they win this stage of Busan, they're winning. They need to calm down and play the best they can instead of how quickly as they can. And I feel like Bad Kitlients kind of need to keep doing what's been working. Just continue with those flanks. And just, split NA team up. And just force that kind of playstyle, because I feel like that's what's been working best against NA team.
At the moment, from the last that I saw when we were on the lobby last time, it looked like NA team were setting up to play a fairly classic Ram Brawl, which is very strong on this map. Especially the Mei has huge value in closing down those rotations, because there are basically only 2 ways that you can realistically approach.
That is true, but hopefully they kind of adapt from what they've been playing earlier with the Brawl. We saw it on King's Road, like when they played Brawl with Ana Juno, it did not go well against the Hazard from Bad Kitlients. So I kind of feel like they need to play it a bit more traditionally if they're going to be able to run down the Hazard.
Of course, one thing I regularly see when scrimming on Mecha Base is we see a showing of Junkrat, because those narrow corridors are just a perfect place for Junkrat to funnel that spam down. It can be very oppressive.
Yeah, Junkrat on this map is really strong. Like, especially if you win the first fight and you set up so you can spam down those corridors, it just, it's a nightmare to play against.
At the moment, while we're still waiting for Bad Kitlients player to reconnect, it did look like Bad Kitlients were going to go with the Hazard Brawl comp again. It has been working for them so far, but I feel in some ways they're not entirely sure how they want to play it.
Yeah, they have been playing it a bit too brawly, I feel like. Not too much emphasis on, as I mentioned, the flanks and the different angles that you can have. Especially if you're playing like if you're playing Hazard, Genji, and Sojourn, you kind of want to play it slightly like the Junker Queen composition, where you use your Genji and the deflect to get close with the Hazard, and then the Hazard and Genji goes in, and then you have Sojourn on and off angle doing like poke damage. That's basically how you want to play it, and then you can have like Kiriko play with Sojourn, and then have Lucio play with the Genji and the Hazard to get in quickly. because you don't have the shout, right? So I think that would be the more optimal way of playing it, especially considering how NA team has been playing. But yeah, especially now that it looks like we're going into a brawl situation against the Hazard. Running down mid, if NA team can sustain high enough with the Ana Juno, or if they go Lucio Bap to increase that sustain and their mobility, yeah, it's it's gonna be different to run down mid into a brawl.
So let's say that Bad Kitlients do take this map and it goes on to another. We come back around again to Escort. On the map pool right now is Junkertown, Route 66, Dorado, and Gibraltar again. I don't know if they will allow going back on Gibraltar or if that's a typo. But out of those maps, if Bad Kitlians do win this, it will be an A team that pick. Do you feel there's any particular map here that they want to be picking?
Oof, that's a difficult one. With that poke style, maybe Dorado. But seems like the pause is over now.
Spawn doors have opened. Both teams are now just about engaging. We see the Hazard roll comp on side of Bad Kitlians with the Reaper and the Genji. NA team are still playing, as we first saw, the Ram brawl with the Ana and the Juno. However, Bad Kitlians are the ones to find the first pick there. That's absolutely huge for Bad Kitlians, as NA team's energy in the brawl just kind of petered out.
Yeah, that was a really good flank by the Genji, going around, just doing damage from the back, taking attention away from the front. And I think that's pretty much what they want to do. But now we see adaptations from NA team. They're going back to the Junker Queen, which has been one of their strong suits in this matchup.
I feel possibly with the Junker Queen, though, they're going to struggle a little bit getting through that choke without taking too much spam. And we see Genji for Bad Kitlians finding a huge pick on the cast. And again, NA team's rotation is shut down very, 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 very quickly.
Yeah, that was really quick. I kind of feel like they should have been swapping out their DPS lineup as well. I think they're kind of forcing the Mei because the Blizzard is so close. But after that Blizzard, I think we're going to see more adaptations.
We're seeing ultimates now come online, and we see Bad Kitlians commit the Hazard ult there, which only really finds the Ana. NA team now finding their own picks, but at the moment, counter picks coming in as Genji for Bad Kitlians, finding huge value. And it looks like, again, Bad Kitlians will take this fight, which makes it extremely difficult for any team to do anything about this as the time is rapidly ticking.
Yeah, that was a really unlucky engagement from NA team. Just the fact that Hazard ult just split them up afterwards. Like, they kill the Reaper, but then the cast walks the point and the rest of the team isn't with him. And it kind of messes up how they would want to play this.
Bad Kitlians using the combination of Beat and Blade, as has been so successful before. Unfortunately, that gets shut down as a High Noon comes out for NA team, finding picks. But Bad Kitlians just get Death Blossom just in time, which comes out and secures the team fight win. And that's going to be extremely difficult for NA team to do anything, as point control is now ticking past 95%.
Yeah, it's going to be hard pressed to touch here, but that's a huge Hazard wall there. And yeah, Bad Kitlians bring it back, and we're now 3-3.
It is now match point for both teams as we go on to the potentially final map tonight, as we go back around to Escort, as both teams are in a commanding position right now. Both teams looking very strong, and it is just for either team to take right now, as it is match point for either side. What an exciting night tonight.
Yeah, it's been so much back and forth. It is insane how these like how these maps are going. Yeah, I think on that last on Busan, like they won. NA team won the first part of it, and then just kind of went, "Oh, we're winning this," and then by doing that, losing the map. So I think they need to to take a bit of a breather, just clear their heads, maybe go outside for a couple of seconds, and then go back in with a fresh mind and then play their game if they want to win this final.
It's really fascinating because over the course of the night, my personal prediction for who I think will take tonight has actually changed. It's switched over, and I now think it is actually Kitlients that stand the stronger chance.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that as well, just because of the snowball effect that is Overwatch. Like as soon as you get that kind of momentum, you are gonna be hard pressed to turn this around.
We're going to take it to a short break right now, and we will be back to you really soon with the final map of the night. And it is for either Bad Kitlients or NA Team to take tonight, as they are both in match point. Stay tuned, and we'll be back soon. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. It's all to play for right here as we are on the final map of the final tournament game tonight. It is either team to take. It is match point for either. No pressure to either. We're going straight to it. It will be Junkertown of all things.
It's going to be Junkertown with NA team banning Sombra and Bad Kitlients banning Diva, which is another tank ban pick that is surprising.
I think both ban picks here are rather surprising. The Diva pick doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't really see the sense in the Sombra either.
Now, I would probably have expected them to ban Ball, considering how well Bad Kitlients have been playing the Ball on the last couple of maps.
We are about to go to the map. It is going to be Junkertown at night. A nice scenic change here. So there is huge pressure on both teams here right now. Both teams have fought very hard to get to here. We are on map 7. It's been a long night. People will be tired.
Absolutely, people will be tired. And if NA team loses this, they're gonna kick themselves. Like, they've been on match point for 3 maps. Like, this is the 3rd map on match point. If they don't win this, I'm gonna feel so bad for them.
Well, NA team will be rolling out on the Sig poke that they've played so far with the Brig and the Zen. It's worked very well for them on some maps. They will be playing it with the Widow, which is quite sensible here on Junkertown with such huge, long sightlines. Bad Kitlients look like at the moment they will be going with their Hazard comp, but it looks like they'll be rolling out with a Hanzo on DPS along with the Reaper. This is somewhat of a hybrid Frankenstein's monster of a comp that I don't think entirely knows what it wants to do here on this map.
Yeah, they are making some swaps after seeing what the NA team are playing. They're going into a monkey type dive. This is kind of like Monkey Brawl from a few seasons back, which was a pretty big meta back when it came out, or when Kiri came out, actually. So it's not a bad comp.
With what NA team are playing here, with the low sustain, high poke comp, certainly if there's anything that can dismantle it, it would be a Winston.
Absolutely, like, NA team is basically playing glass cannon right now. Like, they don't have a lot of sustain, but they do have a ton of damage. The only thing they have going for them as a defense is basically the Venture. Like, it's basically the only thing that can keep the Sigma alive if the monkey dives the tank here.
NA team at the moment do have control of the high ground, which is where a high damage comp like this wants to be. And for Bad Kitlients to really make solid progress, what they need to do is push the Sig off that high ground.
Yeah, they absolutely need to push the Sig off their high ground, but they also need to be able to reach the enemy backline with their dives. Basically what the Tracer is trying to do now on screen.
Bad Kitlients do get a couple of picks there with Widow and Zen going down. That's a lot of the damage now for NA team has disappeared. They now have no backline as the Brig goes down. And finally, the Sig does fold and Bad Kitlients will find some solid card progress here with NA team. They're going to struggle to get the touch here if they're not careful.
Yeah, and it looks like Bad Kitlients have finally realized that having a Tracer flank and destroy the backline is the way to go against NA team. Like, this adaptation that they've done, I just won them 2 games in a row, or 2 maps in a row, and basically evened out the grand finals there.
It looks like NA team has decided to not contest that and just let them have it. It would have been very difficult to get there. I do partially respect that. It would also maybe have been worth the fight, but we will see. Bad Kitlients currently making solid, steady progress here as they're playing the objective, a bit like NA team did earlier on in Gibraltar.
Yeah, huge pick by the Widow there, though. That's it's gonna make it difficult for Bad Kitlients to push up any further, because now the Widow is pretty much uncontested. But playing this far back, holding the backline, or holding the high ground, this is what NA team wants to do. And the only thing they need to do now is make sure that this Tracer doesn't come up behind them. because that's the one thing that can completely disrupt the entire setup that NA team has.
NA team do need to be careful here because Bad Kitlients are still making surprisingly good card progress, and if they can just continue to push that slow and steady, NA team will be forced off the high ground to contest.
Yeah, but in this position where the cart is right now, it's going to be really hard for Bad Kitlients to even get onto cart. They kind of, because if they walk down mid towards the cart, they're just going to get headshot by Widow and Zen. And when they dive in, there's counter options like this flux.
Yeah, huge flux coming out there, but Bad Kitlients do find 2 picks of their own, but that effectively stops Bad Kitlients' progress. For now, NA team still holding. This is a very strong position for the comp that NA team are currently playing to hold. This is going to be very important that Bad Kitlients do push them off that high ground.
Yeah, now we see they go back onto to the ball composition, which I think is really good because then you can roll through, maybe boop someone off of high ground, and then follow up with the Tracer and the Reaper here. The most annoying thing for Bad Kitlients here is going to be to get the Reaper in a good position without being poked out, but they do manage.
Reaper finding a huge blossom there as the Zen goes down. That's value enough as it is. NA team do commit to the Venture ult though, which finds a couple of ticks. Ball still making steady progress though on the point, and Bad Kitlients look like they will cap this with only one player on the side of NA team left to contest the point here, which goes down eventually. Bad Kitlients cap second point. That was really well played, and NA team just effectively fell apart there with the Reaper pick.
Yeah, I think they're sending too many people to contest the flanks right now. Like the only person that needs to turn around to look at where the Reaper and the Tracer is coming from is the Brig. The Zen needs to be able to just trust in their main support and be able to apply discords and play poke with the rest of the team. Like if the Zen has to turn around, then they're gonna lose the fights.
Bad Kitlients are still making steady cart progress here as the NA team Sigma is forced to contest to stop it, but picks are coming out on both sides. Venture finding some value there, finding the Reaper. The Reaper fall, Bad Kitlients has been finding them huge value, so I can understand why that would be a priority target. This forces Bad Kitlients to reset and regroup and take the fight again. NA team still looking like they're on the back foot though.
They are looking a bit like they're on the back foot, but this might be a repeat of Gibraltar, where it kind of looks like they're struggling, but they might be able to contest this card for ages on this point. The 3rd point cap on this map is really difficult.
Another huge flux there comes out on side of NA team. It looks like Malzahar has had some really solid fluxes this game. Obviously very confident on Sigma.
Very confident on Sigma, and then just the follow-up with the Venture damage as well is huge. And now having the Transcendence going into this fight, I think is pretty big. If they don't get forced to use it, having it to counter something like the pressure of a Reaper Kitsune or Mines, I think is pretty important here.
NA team's Widow is going to find it extremely difficult to exist now that Bad Kitlients are playing the ball, and NA team's Widow will need to play very, very far back to avoid being dived. However, we do find picks for NA team as they stop the progress. Bad Kitlients still keeping up the aggression though, and Widow almost going down to the ball there. Bad Kitlients now do have Mines and they do have Rush. NA team only really have the Trance, but that will come in very important with the ults that Bad Kitlients have coming up.
Yeah, if they avoid layering the support ults here, I think they can hold this for a good while yet. And especially if they can deny the Reaper getting up close, like it seems like the Widow is doing now. This is really good defensive play by NA team. But they have a long way to go yet.
Fallen Dragon there on the Widow, finding a huge pick on the Reaper nice and early. So far the extra pressure from Bad Kitlients' ball doesn't seem to be stopping NA team's Widow from getting value. Bad Kitlients now coming up on 4 ultimates. Huge ultimates that can potentially change the course of the fight. NA team only really sitting on the support ults and the sites, which has limited value in this situation. As long as NA team are relatively careful and methodical on the way they use their ultimates, they may still be able to hold.
Yeah, and I think Bad Kitlients needs to kind of calm down because I feel like, oh yeah, now they're into overtime. So we are looking at kind of like a repeat of Gibraltar here. There's really good contests by NA team, and it's going to be really hard for Bad Kitlients to push this all the way.
That said, the picks are coming out on the side of Bad Kitlients as NA team's signal also goes down. Mines committed by Bad Kitlients. They still need to be very careful here because they leave the cart. They lose the progress there and there. It is still in overtime, but they're making solid progress. NA team switching to the ball to try and contest urgently to try and stop the progress. They need to be very, 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 very careful here. Bad Kitlients are dangerously close to catching their point.
Yeah, this rebuild is going to be huge.
Fallen Dragon switching to Tobe there and finding massive value taking down Akiri. And that's absolutely huge for NA team as they stop the progress. That was very, very, very close. Bad Kitlients almost made that, and the Reaper Blossom almost ensured it for them. But NA team, confident, they came back. The pacing of NA team so far has looked a lot more confident than Bad Kitlients. I still like the look of NA team at the moment.
Yeah, on first point, Bad Kitlients look really strong, but then on second point, NA team managed to kind of sink their feet in, doing a lot of good poke damage, making sure there wasn't a lot of card progress, and when they got to third point, they basically did the same thing. They completely negated the Reaper, which was really impressive. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can do something similar on attack. Playing poke on attack is way harder than playing poke on defense, because you continuously have to move forward instead of just holding your position and fight. Yeah.
It looks like any team will be sticking to the comp that they played last round, would be the Brig, Zen, Backline and the Venture. It worked for them fairly well, but of course, as we mentioned, it has relatively low sustain, so they need to be very careful how they use their support ultimates. Bad Kitlients, they are playing the Hazard on defense with Anna and with Kiri, so double flex support there. Interesting choice. They are also playing the Venture. Again, interesting choice. The problem I feel with what Bad Kitlients have is they need to get quite close to be able to get consistent damage.
Yeah, they need to get close, and I feel like playing on this high ground is already too far back if they want to be able to deny any card push before they come to the corner here. It's going to be really hard to go in towards the Sigma here, because if you get close to the Sigma, there's a window behind, there's a Sun behind, and you just get pushed out, as we see now. Like, they have to play back, and they just have to wait for the card to get into a position where they can play closer. And if they don't play closer here, NA team is just going to push the card the entire way.
NA team's progress is solid and steady as they keep pushing forward. Bad Kitlients just forced to disengage over and over. Bad Kitlients Tracer does go down, which makes the fight all the harder. That's a huge pick there. Bad Kitlients Venture goes down. This is going to be very difficult for Bad Kitlients to do anything about, as NA team is slowly gaining the momentum on their side as they march forward.
Yeah, they're playing a bit too defensive, a bit too passive, considering what NA team is playing. Like, Bad Kitlients here need to be able to contest card continuously if they're going to have a chance at holding this, because if they don't, NA team is just going to move up to a corner, set up, poke around that corner, push the card a little bit, and then if Bad Kitlients doesn't engage and they kite backwards, then the NA team just move on to the next corner, which is basically what we're seeing so far. Bad Kitlients need to take these engages.
NA team has of course now capped first point, and the progress is not stopping as they're flanking Venture for NA team, finding massive value as Bad Kitlients Hazard does go down. Bad Kitlients need to be very careful here because it looks like they're almost starting to stagger themselves.
Yeah, it's looking very staggery. That's a good pick by the Kiri there, because it's going to take a long time before this Venture is back into the fight. But if any team can get any picks early in this fight, and just as I say that they do, it's gonna be really difficult for bad Kitlients to stop this card from pushing in. Like the Transcendence is up, the Flux is up. Ooh, that's a great pick though.
NA team do find the counter pick though with the Reaper going down immediately after. I don't believe that bad Kitlients have won a single team fight on the defense phase so far.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like they're playing way too passive. They're giving too much space to NA team, and by doing that, they're enabling the Widow and the Zen. Like they need to be able to go in, deny space, and deny like footholds. If they can, like, stop them from taking a corner, that's a win. But now they are back on the ball, which has worked a bit better for them on previous maps, but it might be a little bit too late.
It might indeed be a little too late as bad Kitlients, although they've changed the momentum, especially with that ball pick and a nice pick on NA team's Brig there with the pulse bomb. It's not stopping the constant slow progress of NA team as they march closer to the final point. We're almost at final fight here as NA team are looking almost like they're about to take the entire Rookie Division Championship right here. It is very, very dangerous for bad Kitlients. They do find the pick as the Zen goes down, and then bad Kitlients find another pick there as they will stop the progress. But this is looking very dangerous for bad Kitlients.
It is looking very dangerous. I'm a bit curious as to why the Zen didn't use Transcendence there. I think I would have expected them to do that because they were the only one taking a lot of damage in that fight. And by the Zen dying, like the entire rest of the team collapsed. So I think if bad Kitlients can continue to do this kind of stuff, just kill the Zen first, they might have a chance, and now they're set up in a pretty decent position to do that.
NA team do have the ult economy on their side, however. They have Flux, they have Venture ult, and they have Trance. But again, they can focus the Zen first, and Zen goes down early, which stops their progress. They do find a counter pick, however. Are they going to be able to convert it? NA team only really realistically at this point need one solid team fight to take the whole thing. And we do see bad Kitlients are very effectively holding the progress though. Ball getting huge value here. And that's an attempt at a pulse here we see come out. NA team still have those 3 big ultimates on the board. They haven't actually committed them yet. Very interesting. Bad Kitlients now only have Rush. It will be interesting to see if they could do with that. NA team definitely looking the stronger here as we see a huge pick come in for NA team and another one. They're just about to take the entire final here right now. This is final fight for bad Kitlients to stop the progress of NA team and take the entire match right here. This is looking very, very, very close indeed, and the picks are coming in on the side of NA team. Brig does go down, however. This is looking so close. Mines comes out, doesn't find a huge amount of value. Torbolt comes out, and that picks again on side of NA team. They're about to take it. They're about to take the final after map 7. Absolutely massive. NA team do it. They find the picks. They find the pressure, and they finally take, after map 7, after an insane night of to and fro, back and forwards, absolutely nuts. But NA team come out, they come out on top, they come out the stronger team, and congratulations to them. Very well played.
That was insanely well played by NA team. Just, yeah, playing their game, just denying bad Kitlients what they wanted to do. Even the desperation far at the end there just wasn't enough to stop NA team from just running through there. That was a great match.
NA team definitely looked like the stronger on that map. It didn't look like they were going to let anything take their victory away from them. It is very unfortunate for bad Kitlients. They fought so hard to get here, but ultimately NA team had what it took to take the final. What a night. 7 maps right to the end there. Insane. It has been such a long night and such an incredible back and forth. It looked like it was going both ways at different times. It was very difficult to predict what direction this was going in.
Yeah, the snowball going back and forth, and then I think NA team being able to take like a little bit of a breather before that last map just ensured them, like they did on that last map, they just played how they want to play. Like they played poke, they played really well. Even on attack, just being able to consistently push the point on poke against the dive comp like that, that's just impressive play. Just really well played by NA team.
The nerves in the camp at NA team must have been huge because they'd been sitting on match point for 3 maps there.
Yeah, that must have been extremely taxing on them. But looking at like the information we got about the teams and stuff, I think like in that last break, I think they were all just huddling down and just like Chaza, and then just bite through the entire thing.
Well, it's certainly been an incredible and very memorable night. Thank you very, very much for joining us, everyone. What an insane night. We still have the Challenger Division final coming up for you sometime next week, and we will have information for you. But it has been a fantastic night. We hope everyone has enjoyed it. It's been really special. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and for watching. And thank you tonight once again for joining me, Ebroth.